Welcome, traveller. Come in from the noise of the day. Close the heavy door behind you and let the latch click softly into place, sealing out the world and all its demands. You're safe here. You're in a sanctuary of shadow and silence, a place where time slows down until it barely moves at all. Find the most comfortable position for your body, allowing your weight to sink deeply into the mattress, like a stone settling into the soft silken sand of a riverbed. Let your eyelids grow heavy, so heavy that keeping them open feels like lifting a great weight, a weight you no longer need to carry. Let them fall. Let the darkness behind your eyes become a canvas, vast and deep. Breathe in slowly, filling your chest with the cool, quiet air of the night, and breathe out, releasing the tension from your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. Unclench your fingers. Let your palms rest open, receptive to the calm. Tonight, we are going to leave the ground. We are going to float upward, past the clouds that blanket our sleeping cities, past the thin atmosphere that cradles our breath, and into the velvet obsidian of the cosmos. We're going on a journey through the history of our reach for the stars, but this is not a lesson to be memorized. It is a lullaby to be felt. It is a story of silence, of silver machines drifting in the void, and of the brave dreamers who looked up and wondered. Imagine yourself floating in that endless expanse. There is no up or down here, only the gentle sensation of suspension. The stars are not twinkling. They are steady, burning diamonds set against a curtain of infinite black. You are weightless. You are peace itself. As we drift through this timeline of exploration, let the images wash over you like a slow, warm tide. There is nothing for you to do but listen, visualize, and drift closer and closer to the edge of sleep. Let go of the earth. Let go of the gravity that holds you. We are travelers of the night, and our journey begins in the quiet dark. Picture, if you will, the very first artificial heartbeat we ever sent into the heavens. Imagine a simple sphere, polished and gleaming, no larger than a beach ball, reflecting the stark, unfiltered sunlight of space. This is the dawn of our journey. It is a sphere of aluminum, cool to the touch, with 4 long, slender whiskers trailing behind it, like the antennae of a silver insect. It tumbles slowly, end over end, catching the light, and then disappearing into the shadow of the earth. As it circles our planet, it sings a simple song, a rhythmic electronic pulse. Beep, beep, beep. Can you hear it? It is not a loud sound, but a whisper across the radio waves, a signal that pierces the static of the atmosphere. This tiny metallic moon is alone in the vastness, spinning in the silent vacuum. Visualize the curvature of the earth below it, a massive glowing orb of blue and white, while this small silver traveller continues its lonely, brave vigil. It was the first time humanity touched the sky and stayed there. The feeling here is one of solitude and beginning, a single note played on a piano in an empty concert hall echoing forever. Feel the rhythm of that signal syncing with your breathing, slow and steady, a metronome for your relaxation. The sphere drifts, and with it, your mind drifts, smooth and unburdened, circling the world in 98 quiet minutes. From that first metallic pulse, our vision shifts to something softer, something living. Imagine a warm, beating heart encased in a capsule, floating high above the clouds. We move to the memory of the first living breath drawn in the silence of orbit. Picture a small cabin, snug and secure, carrying a passenger who looks out through a thick glass porthole. She's a small creature, calm and curious, her ears perked toward the hum of the instruments. This is not a story of fear, but of a profound, quiet view that no set of eyes had ever seen before. Imagine what she sees. The sun does not rise and set as it does for us. It cycles rapidly, a constant interplay of blinding light and absolute shadow. She floats in her harness, weightless, her paws hovering gently in the air. The silence of space is absolute outside the metal walls, a thick, heavy blanket of quiet. But inside, there is the reassuring hum of fans and the rhythmic thumping of her own brave heart. Think of the trust involved here, the innocence of exploration. As you lie there, feel a kinship with that sensation of being carried, of being a passenger on a great vessel. You're being held by your bed just as she was held by her ship, safe in a bubble of existence, watching the stars slide by. The darkness of space is not empty. It is a canvas of peace. The earth below is a silent watcher, a cradle of azure swirling with white clouds. We honour this heartbeat, this soft, living warmth in the cold void as we drift deeper into the dream. The narrative expands now, growing from a small passenger to a human voice speaking from the void. Visualize a man, the first of his kind, squeezed into a spherical craft, clad in an orange suit that rivals the brightness of the sun. He's the first to cross the threshold, the first to look down and whisper the words that would define our perspective forever. "I see Earth," he says, his voice crackling through the static, calm and filled with wonder. "It is so beautiful." Imagine looking through his eyes. The sky is not blue anymore, it is deep, impenetrable black. And below, the earth is a marble, glowing with an inner light. See the colours he describes, the intense, vibrant sapphire of the oceans, the emerald greens of the forests, the bright white swirls of storms moving silently across the atmosphere. He's moving so fast, thousands of miles per hour, yet to him, it feels like floating. It feels like stillness. There is a profound sense of unity in this vision. From this height, there are no borders, no walls, no noise, just the silent, spinning planet. Imagine that you are him, suspended in that capsule. You feel light as a feather. Your arms float in front of you. The heavy blanket of gravity has been lifted and you are free. The horizon is a curved line of neon blue separating the known from the unknown. Bask in that blue light. Let it wash over your mind, cooling your thoughts, calming your nerves. The world is far away, silent and small, and you are here, safe in the starlight, drifting in the great cosmic river. As the years of this dream unfold, the voice changes, becoming softer, yet equally strong. We see a call sign, Seagull, echoing through the mission control headsets. Picture a lone woman, solitary and serene, piloting her craft through the darkness. She's the first woman to touch the stars, and she does so not for a mere moment, but for days, circling the planet 48 times. She's a bird in flight, truly free of the earth, soaring higher than any seagull has ever flown. Visualize the interior of her ship. It is cramped, filled with dials and switches, glowing with amber and green lights in the dim cabin. But she's at peace. She speaks to the ground, her voice a tether connecting the heavens to the soil. She eats, she sleeps, she dreams while floating in the void. Imagine the sensation of sleeping in space as she did. Strapped loosely to a sleeping bag, your arms floating in front of you, your head resting on a pillow of air. There is a grace to her mission, a ballet of celestial mechanics. She watches the sunrises one after another, a kaleidoscope of colour speeding up time. Gold, violet, crimson, then black. Gold, violet, crimson, then black. The rhythm is hypnotic. It lulls you deeper into relaxation. You're the seagull now, gliding on the currents of gravity, watching the world turn beneath you. There is no rush to land. There is only the glide, the long endless drift through the cavern of the night. The dream shifts again, and now the hatch opens. We're no longer content to stay inside the ship. We must step out into the void itself. Picture a man in a white suit, bulky and pressurized, opening the door to the infinite. The air rushes out, leaving only silence. He floats out of the capsule, connected only by a golden umbilical cord, a lifeline twisting slowly in the sunlight. He is a satellite himself now, Imagine the feeling of having nothing beneath your feet but 200 miles of empty space and the slow-moving tapestry of the earth. He is flying. He spreads his arms and he turns effortlessly, a dancer in the dark. The sun is hot on his visor, a gold-coated shield that reflects the brilliance of the stars, hiding his face in a mirror of the cosmos. Feel that sensation of total weightlessness. If you were to push off gently with a fingertip, you would drift forever. There is no wind to push you back, no sound to startle you, only the sound of your own breathing in the helmet, in and out. The cord keeps you safe, tethered to your home, but your body is free. You're floating in a sea of nothingness, bathing in the raw light of the sun. It is a feeling of absolute liberation, of being a speck of consciousness in a universe of matter. Let that feeling of suspension seep into your muscles. You are floating. You are held by the nothingness, comforted by the vastness. We drift further now, leaving the safety of a low Earth orbit. The engine burns, a silent flare in the vacuum, and we push outward, aiming for the pale, glowing orb of the moon. We are 3 travellers now, cramped in a cone, venturing into the deep grey. For the first time, humans go behind the moon, into the shadow where the sun is blocked and the earth cannot be seen. Radio silence falls, but as they round the dark side of the cratered moon, something miraculous happens, a vision that would change the soul of humanity. Picture the grey, dead horizon of the moon in the foreground, stark, colourless, utterly still, and then, rising slowly above it, is a jewel, the Earthrise, a delicate, swirling marble of blue and white, rising like a morning sun over the lunar dust. It is the only thing in the universe that has colour. Everything else is black or grey, but the Earth is alive with vibrancy. Contrast that grey dust with the deep blue oceans in your mind. It looks fragile, like a glass ornament hanging in the dark. From this distance, you can cover your home with the tip of your thumb. All the noise, all the people, all the history is on that tiny dot. It makes you feel small, but in a comforting way. Your worries are invisible from here. They do not exist in the face of this beauty. You are watching the earth rise from the silence of another world, a witness to the most beautiful sunrise in history. The destination draws closer. The grey surface grows larger until it fills the window. We are descending. The engines kick up silent plumes of dust, ancient powder that has not moved for billions of years. The eagle has landed. Visualize the stillness that follows the engine shutdown. It is a silence deeper than any found on Earth. Then the ladder. A boot, thick and heavy, presses down into the soil. It leaves a print. Picture that footprint clearly. The edges are sharp, preserved perfectly in the vacuum. The soil is fine, like talcum powder or charcoal dust, soft and yielding. Because there is no wind on the moon, that footprint will remain there for eternity. It is a permanent mark of peace. Imagine walking there. You feel light, bouncing with every step. You weigh only a fraction of what you do on Earth. You can hop in slow motion, floating in an arc before gently settling back down. The horizon is near and sharp against the black sky. The shadows are long and ink black. You're standing on a desolate, quiet beach at the edge of the cosmic ocean. There is no sound of waves, only the sound of your own oar. It is the ultimate solitude, a quiet so deep it wraps around you like a heavy quilt, protecting your sleep. We remain on this silver world, but now we move with greater ease. Picture a vehicle, a strange skeletal buggy with mesh wheels, unfolded from the side of the lander. It is the lunar rover, a silent electric chariot for this alien landscape. It hums softly, a vibration barely felt through the seat as it rolls over the undulations of the lunar Maria. Imagine sitting in this rover, driving toward the towering mountains in the distance. The suspension rocks you gently, like a boat on a calm lake. You're driving through a valley that has been dark and cold for aeons. The dust kicks up behind the wheels in perfect rooster tail arcs, falling back to the ground instantly without air to hold it up. You stop at the edge of a massive canyon. The view is endless, grey upon grey stretching into the black. You are an explorer in a garden of stone. The seat is comfortable, the suit holds you like a second skin, and you watch the earth hanging motionless in the sky directly above you. It is a ceiling of blue watching over your drive. The peace of this drive is hypnotic. No traffic, no roads, just the open, untouched frontier and the soft hum of the electric wheels rolling over history. Our mind travels now, faster than any ship, away from the moon, past Mars, and out toward the edge of the solar system. We follow a pair of twin probes, the Voyagers, the most distant emissaries of mankind. These are not manned by humans, but they carry our spirit. They are sleek, robotic wanderers, drifting through the dark for decades. Bolted to the side of each probe is a golden disc, a phonograph record made of gold. Visualize this gleaming circle spinning in the dark. It carries the sounds of our home, the call of a whale, the rush of the wind, the crackle of fire, the sound of a mother kissing a child, the music of Bach and Chuck Berry. It is a message in a bottle, thrown into the infinite cosmic ocean. Think of the Voyager probe now, billions of miles away. The sun is just a bright star to it now. It is cold, drifting in the space between stars where the silence is absolute. But it carries that gold warmth, a memory of who we are. It floats on and on, destined to wander forever. There is a comfort in that eternity, a machine that will never stop, never tire, carrying a lullaby of Earth into the deep dreams of the galaxy. Let your mind drift with it, further and further away, detaching from the here and now, becoming a speck of gold in the twilight. Finally, we curve back toward home, to a memory of a ship that flew like a rocket but glided like a bird. The Space Shuttle, a magnificent white vessel with black tiles on its belly and delta wings that spanned the sky. It was a bridge between the earth and the heavens, a reusable dream. Picture it in its final moments of a mission. It has done its work in the stars and now it falls back to Earth. But it does not fall with chaos. It glides. It enters the atmosphere glowing orange with heat, a phoenix returning to the nest before cooling to a soaring white bird. The engines are off. It is a silent glider, heavy and graceful. Imagine the pilot guiding this massive ship in a long, sweeping spiral. The wind rushes over the wings, the only sound a rushing hiss of air. It banks over the coast, dropping lower and lower. It aligns with the runway, a long strip of concrete waiting to receive it. The wheels touch down, screech, hum, and a parachute blooms behind it, slowing it down. It comes to a rest, steam rising from its cooling tiles. It is home. The journey is done. The heavy sensation of gravity returns, not as a burden, but as a hug. A grounding embrace that says, rest now, you have flown, you have seen, and now you are safe. And from that grounded safety, that feeling of the wheels resting on solid concrete, we look back up. We look back to the place where those shuttles travelled, to the legacy they left behind in the velvet sky. High above the atmosphere, floating like a grand silver castle in the sea of night, is the largest structure humans have ever woven into the stars. Imagine a sprawling lattice of metal and light, a floating laboratory the size of a football field, gliding silently at 17,000 miles per hour. Yet, to the eye, it appears to drift as slowly as a cloud. This is a cathedral of cooperation, a place where the borders drawn on maps down below dissolve into irrelevance. Visualize the massive solar wings, gold and copper sheets stretching out like the feathers of a giant phoenix, drinking in the unfiltered sunlight. They rotate slowly, tracking the source of all warmth, shimmering against the backdrop of deep space. Inside this shell, there is a constant low-frequency hum, the sound of life support, of fans moving air, of machines working tirelessly to keep the night at bay. It is a cozy sound, like the purring of a cat or the rumble of a distant train, a white noise that wraps around the sleepers strapped into their vertical bunks. Here, people from different nations share a meal while floating in midair, passing a canister of water that forms a perfect trembling sphere of liquid. They are the guardians of our dreams, orbiting the world 16 times a day, watching over us while we rest in the shadow of the planet. Within this floating palace, there is a room dedicated entirely to the art of seeing. We drift now into the cupola, a small blister-shaped observatory protruding from the side of the station. It has 7 windows, thick and multi-layered, facing down toward the Earth. Imagine floating into this space, gripping the handrails to steady yourself in the zero gravity. The lights are off here. The only illumination comes from the blue glow of the world below. This is the overview effect, a shift in consciousness that settles over you like a warm blanket. You are looking down at the Pacific Ocean, a vast expanse of midnight blue that seems to go on forever. You see the clouds casting shadows on the water, 3-dimensional and fluffy, like cotton spilled on a sapphire floor. You watch a thunderstorm over the Amazon at night, silent from this height. The lightning flashes not as jagged bolts, but as blooming pools of light, pulsing like synapses in a giant brain. It is hypnotic. Pulse, pulse, fade. The world turns beneath you, a slow, majestic rotation that rocks your mind into a state of absolute tranquility. You're a silent observer, detached from the chaos, watching the planet breathe. The sun begins to peek over the curved horizon, a thin crescent of rainbow light, orange, indigo, violet, before the brilliant white diamond of the day breaks perfectly across the glass. But sometimes, to truly understand the void, one must leave the safety of the walls. We move now to the sensation of the spacewalk. Visualize the airlock cycling, the pressure dropping, the final hiss of air leaving the chamber. You're encased in a suit that is a miniature spacecraft in itself, a thick white armour against the vacuum. The hatch opens, and there is nothing between you and the infinite but a visor of gold-coated polycarbonate. You pull yourself out, hand over hand, gripping the metal rails. The silence here is profound. It is not just the absence of noise, it is the presence of peace. The only sound is the rhythmic whoosh of your own breath and the faint static of the radio. You're a climber on a mountain of aluminum suspended over a 400-mile drop, but you do not fall, you float. You're a satellite, orbiting in tandem with the station. The sun hits your suit, and you feel the warmth radiating through the layers, a stark contrast to the shadow side, which is cold and dark. You're working with your hands, turning a bolt, but the movement is slow, dreamlike, underwater. Every movement is deliberate. Every breath is a reminder of life. You look past your boots, past the station, into the blackest black you have ever seen, and you realize that you are held by the universe, suspended in a great cosmic web that prevents you from falling. Drifting away from the station now, we travel higher, beyond the orbit of our home, to a lonely cylinder floating in the clear, unobstructed darkness. It is the great eye of humanity, a telescope with a mirror polished to perfection. It has been sitting there for decades, staring unblinkingly into the deep. It is a silver traveller, silent and steady, turning its gaze away from Earth and toward the beginning of time. Think of the patience of this machine. It can stare at a single patch of dark sky for days, soaking up the faintest photons of light that have travelled for millions of years to reach it. It is catching ghosts. It is catching the whispers of stars that died long before the first human walked on the savannah. Imagine the light entering the tube, bouncing off the smooth glass and being captured as a digital painting. This telescope has shown us the pillars of creation, towering clouds of gas and dust where new stars are being born, glowing with pink and ultraviolet light. It is a nursery of the heavens. Visualize those massive ethereal structures like stalagmites in a cave of night. three-dimensional and glowing with an inner fire. They are static to our eyes, but on a cosmic scale they are shifting, swirling, creating. We are looking into the past and it is beautiful. One specific image from this great eye invites us to let go of our perception of emptiness. There was a time when we pointed this telescope at a patch of sky that looked completely empty. A black square, nothing more. We left the shutter open, letting the eye stare into the nothingness for hour after hour. And when the image came back, the darkness was gone. In that tiny speck of empty sky, there were thousands of galaxies, spirals of blue, ellipses of gold, irregular splashes of white light, each one a city of billions of stars, each one an island universe. Imagine the feeling of that realization, that the void is not void at all, it is full. Every inch of the dark sky is teeming with light, if only we look long enough, if only we are quiet enough to see it. It is a comforting thought for a restless mind. Even in the darkest, emptiest spaces there is beauty waiting to be found. There is no true emptiness, only undiscovered light. Let your mind expand to hold that thought, vast and limitless, floating in a sea of galaxies. We leave the orbit of Earth now, pushed by a silent desire to touch the red dust. We travel outward to the rusty world of Mars. Imagine the landing of the first rovers, protected not by rockets, but by balloons. A cluster of giant white airbags bouncing across the rocky surface. Bounce, bounce, settle. And then the air is released, the petals open, and a small, solar-powered wanderer rolls out onto the sand. Visualize the landscape. It is a desert of iron oxide, a landscape of burnt orange and ochre under a pale butterscotch sky. It is a quiet world. There are no birds, no rushing rivers, no rustling leaves, only the stillness of rocks that have sat in the same position for 1 billion years. The rover moves slowly, its metal wheels crunching softly over the basalt stones. It is a geologist, patient and methodical, examining a rock here, a dune there. It is the only movement in an entire hemisphere. Imagine being that rover, soaking up the weak sunlight during the day to charge your batteries, and then going into a deep sleep mode as the sun sets and the temperature plunges. You sleep in the freezing cold, under a sky with 2 tiny moons waiting for the dawn. It is a solitude that is not lonely, but peaceful. A long, undisturbed hike through the canyons of another world. And as the sun sets on this red world, the colours shift in a way that defies our expectations on Earth. On our blue planet, the sunset is red, but on the red planet, the sunset is blue. Visualize standing in the Gale crater as the sun dips below the crater rim. The dust in the atmosphere scatters the light, and the sky around the dying sun turns a cool, serene slate blue. The wind begins to pick up. Listen closely. It is a thin, high-pitched whistle, a ghostly hum passing through the valley. It is the sound of the planet breathing. The atmosphere is thin, so the wind feels like a phantom touch, a gentle caress rather than a gale. It swirls the dust into small devils that dance across the plains and then vanish. Standing there, watching the blue twilight fade into the starry black, you feel the immense age of this place. It is a planet that has gone to sleep, a world of frozen secrets and red silence. The cold settles in, preserving everything in a state of suspended animation. We push outward again, crossing the asteroid belt, leaving the rocky inner worlds for the kingdom of the giants. We arrive at the monarch of planets, Jupiter. It is a world made of clouds, a colossal sphere of gas that could swallow 1,000 Earths. There is no ground here, only layers of mist, deepening into an ocean of liquid hydrogen. Visualize the colours, bands of cream, burnt sienna, white and terracotta, swirling around the planet in opposite directions. It is a painting that never dries, a storm that never ends. And there, sitting like a great eye in the southern hemisphere, is the Great Red Spot, a hurricane larger than our entire home planet, churning for 300 years. Imagine floating in a probe, descending through these cloud tops. You pass through towering ammonic clouds, white and fluffy as cumulus, then down into darker brownish layers. Lightning, 10 times more powerful than any on Earth, flickers in the deep gloom, illuminating the caverns of gas. But despite the violence of the storms from a distance, the planet is a majestic striped marble, hanging steady in the dark, guarding the rest of the system with its immense gravity. Further still, we drift to the jewel of the solar system, Saturn. If you could float in space next to this planet, the sight would steal the breath from your lungs. It is a pale gold ball, calm and hazy, but surrounding it is the most exquisite structure in nature, the rings. From a distance they look like solid discs of silver and gold, but as we drift closer, we see they are made of billions of particles of ice. Some are as small as grains of sand, others are the size of a house. They are pure white water ice, reflecting the distant sunlight with a glittering brilliance. Imagine floating just above the ring plane. It is a shimmering river of diamonds flowing in a perfect circle. There is a silence here that is absolute. The particles tumble and drift, nudging each other gently in a celestial dance. A probe once dived between the planet and the rings into the gap, and found it to be surprisingly empty, a quiet corridor between the golden atmosphere and the wall of ice. To float here is to be inside a piece of cosmic jewellery, surrounded by arcs of light that stretch across the entire sky. Finally, for this part of our dream, we descend toward one of the moons of this ringed giant, a moon shrouded in a thick orange haze. This is Titan. It is the only moon with an atmosphere so thick you could fly through it with wings attached to your arms. We follow a small probe shaped like a saucer, falling through the orange fog. It descends slowly, swaying under a parachute. The sky is a uniform tangerine glow, diffusing the light so there are no sharp shadows. As it breaks through the haze, a strange world is revealed. It is cold, incredibly cold, but there are hills of ice as hard as rock and rivers flowing down to dark, oily seas. But these are not rivers of water, they are rivers of liquid methane. Rain falls here, but it falls in slow motion due to the low gravity, large drops of liquid natural gas drifting down like feathers. The probe lands with a squelch in a mud made of ice crystals. It sits on a dark plain, strewn with rounded pebbles of water ice, smoothed by the flow of the methane rivers. It is a twilight world, dim and mysterious, lit by the filtered light of the distant sun and the reflection of Saturn in the sky. It is a place of alien chemistry, a dark, slushy mirror of Earth, sleeping in the deep freeze of the outer solar system. The probe sends back a single image of those rounded stones, a testament to the flowing liquids, before the batteries fade and it joins the silence of the moon forever. Drift now in that orange twilight. Feel the slow, heavy rain tapping against your shelter. You're far from home, yet you're safe, watching the hydrocarbon waves lap gently against the shore of a dark sea, under a sky of eternal amber clouds. The universe is vast and strange and beautiful, and it wraps around you now like a heavy, warm blanket, inviting you to close your eyes and sleep. From that dim, amber twilight, where the methane rain falls in slow motion, our consciousness lifts. We rise through the heavy orange fog of Titan, breaking through the haze and back into the clarity of the vacuum. We leave the golden giant of Saturn behind, but we do not travel far before we are drawn to a glint of pure, blinding white in the darkness. It is a small moon, a mere icy marble compared to the giants we have seen, but it shines with the brilliance of fresh fallen snow. This is Enceladus. Imagine a world that is the reflective opposite of the dark void surrounding it. It is the brightest object in the solar system, a sphere wrapped entirely in a shell of pristine ice. There is no dust here, no grime, only a surface that gleams like a polished diamond under the distant sun. Glide low over this frozen landscape. It is not flat. It is a topography of ridges and fractures, deep canyons cut into the crust that are tinged with a faint electric blue. These are the tiger stripes, fissures in the armour of the moon, and from these blue fractures a miracle occurs. Visualize great plumes of water vapour and ice crystals shooting upward, defying the weak gravity, spraying miles into the sky. It is a silent geyser of snow, venting from a hidden ocean buried deep beneath the crust. Imagine the feeling of flying through one of these plumes. It is not violent. It is a gentle passing through a cloud of microscopic diamonds. The crystals sparkle around you, catching the light, before settling into one of Saturn's rings or drifting back down to coat the moon in another layer of fresh powder. Beneath that thick ice, a warm, salty ocean churns, a hidden cradle of potential in the cold dark. The knowledge of that hidden warmth, protected by miles of ice, gives this small moon a feeling of secrecy and preciousness, a frozen treasure chest waiting to be opened. We allow the momentum of our journey to carry us further outward, away from the complex jewellery of Saturn, into the deep freeze. The sun grows smaller, shrinking to a bright point of light that offers little heat. In this deepening twilight, we encounter a planet that rolls through the darkness. This is Uranus, the ice giant that spins on its side. Picture a sphere of the palest blue, a colour so soft and subtle it looks like a robin's egg suspended in a dark room. It is a ghostly, cyan orb, smooth and almost featureless to the eye. While other planets spin like tops, this one rolls like a ball, its pole pointing directly at the sun for decades at a time. Because of this, one half of the world is locked in a long dark winter that lasts for 42 Earth years, while the other basks in the weak, pale light. Drift close to this sideways world. The atmosphere here is thick and cold, a heavy blanket of hydrogen, helium and methane. It feels still. There is a quiet melancholy to this planet, a sense of lonely beauty. It is surrounded by faint dark rings, narrow bands of coal-black dust that are almost invisible until you are right upon them. They are the shadows to the planet's light. To float here is to know true disorientation, where north is where east should be, where the sun circles in a tight coil in the sky rather than rising and setting. It is a world of vertigo and silence, a pale blue ghost haunting the outer reaches of our home system. The cold here is absolute, a stillness that seeps into the bones and slows the pulse, calming the mind into a state of deep hibernation. But the blue deepens as we move further. We drift to the twin of the sideways planet, the final sentinel of the true planets, Neptune. If Uranus was a pale, watery cyan, Neptune is a deep, rich azure, the colour of the ocean at its deepest point. It is a vibrant, shocking blue against the black velvet of space. This is a world of power. Though it is far from the sun's energy, the winds here scream at over 1,000 miles per hour, faster than the speed of sound. Yet, from our high vantage point in the silence of space, we do not hear the roar. We only see the majestic movement of the clouds. White streaks of methane ice race across the blue globe, casting shadows on the cloud decks below. Visualize the great dark spot, a storm the size of a continent, swirling like a bruised eye in the southern hemisphere. It is a hole in the atmosphere, churning and shifting. As you gaze at this deep blue sphere, imagine sinking into its atmosphere. It is not a splash, but a slow immersion into denser and denser gas, a transition from sky to slush to liquid diamond. The gravity is heavy here, a grounding force. There is a sense of immense pressure, of a planet holding itself together against the cold. It is the windiest place we know, yet it hangs in the sky with the stillness of a painted marble. Let the deep blue colour fill your vision, a cool, dark hue that signals the brain to rest, to lower the lights, to prepare for the end of the day. Beyond the blue giant, we cross a threshold. We enter the third zone, the kingdom of the dwarfs. Here, we find the world that captured our hearts even as it was reclassified, Pluto. For decades, it was just a blurry smudge of light in our telescopes, but now, visualize it as we finally saw it. A world of shocking complexity and colour. It is not grey and dead. It is painted in hues of copper, cream and charcoal, and dominating its face is a feature that looks undeniably like a heart. A vast, smooth plain of nitrogen ice, shaped perfectly like a valentine. This is Sputnik Planitia. Picture this landscape. It is a glacier, but not of water. It is frozen nitrogen, soft and malleable, flowing slowly like toothpaste or candle wax over the surface. There are mountains here, but they are made of water ice, hard as granite in the extreme cold, floating on top of the nitrogen sea. The skies are hazy blue, thin and layered. If you stood on this heart of ice, you would see the snow falling, but it is red snow. Tholins, complex organic compounds created by sunlight hitting the thin atmosphere, drift down gently, staining the hills in shades of rust and dark red. It is a twilight world where the sun is just the brightest star in the sky, casting long, sharp shadows that stretch for miles. The air is still, the silence is crisp. It is a winter wonderland at the edge of existence, a place where the ice itself is alive, churning and resurfacing over millions of years, beating slowly like the heart it resembles. We drift past Pluto into the vast, scattered disk of the Kuiper Belt. This is the attic of the solar system, a region filled with trillions of icy remnants from the dawn of creation. It is spacious here. The objects are millions of miles apart, lonely travellers in the dark. We focus on one peculiar object, a small world named Arakoth. Imagine two red spheres, one large and one small, gently fused together. It looks like a snowman made of red clay, tumbling slowly end over end. This object tells a story of a gentle beginning. Billions of years ago, these two separate rocks drifted toward each other, closer and closer, spiraling in a slow dance until they touched. They did not crash. They did not shatter. They kissed. They settled against one another with the lightness of a snowflake landing on a sleeve, fusing together to become one. Visualize that moment of contact, soft, silent, permanent. They have remained that way ever since, spinning together in the dark. The surface is smooth and reddish, untouched by the violence of the inner solar system. It is a symbol of peaceful union. To watch Arakoth spin is to watch a slow-motion waltz that has lasted for eons. It is a reminder that even in the vastness of space, things can come together and stay together. There is a profound sense of intimacy here, a quiet companionship in the middle of nowhere. From this frozen outer rim, we catch a ride on a traveller that is falling inward, a comet. Picture a mountain of dirty ice, jagged and dark, tumbling through the void. It is a sleeper, dormant and cold, indistinguishable from an asteroid. But as it falls closer to the warmth of the sun, it begins to wake up. Feel the transformation. The sun's heat touches the icy surface, and the ice instantly turns to gas, bypassing the liquid stage. Hissing jets of steam and dust erupt from the dark surface, creating a glowing halo around the rock. This is the coma. And then, the solar wind catches this cloud, stretching it out behind the comet for millions of miles. The tail. Visualize the Rosetta mission, where we dare to land a small probe on one of these waking beasts. Picture the probe, Philae, descending toward the spinning, craggy surface. It touches down, bounce. It rebounds in the low gravity, soaring back up in slow motion, floating for hours before settling again in the shadow of a cliff. The surface is distinct, hard ice covered in soft, powdery dust, smelling faintly of bitter almonds and rotten eggs, a chemistry set of the early universe. Being on this comet is like riding a wild horse that is breathing fire. You're standing on a geyser, looking up at a sky dominated by the tail, a glowing river of white dust paving the road behind you. It is a journey of release, of letting go of what is frozen and letting it become a magnificent trail of light. We follow the comet's path all the way in, past the planets we have already seen, diving toward the great fire that anchors us all, the sun. But this time, we do not look from a distance. We go where no machine has dared to go before, with the Parker Solar Probe. Imagine a spacecraft shielded by a thick plate of carbon composite armour, diving into the corona, the sun's outer atmosphere. It is moving faster than any object humans have ever made, hundreds of thousands of miles per hour. Outside the shield, the temperature is millions of degrees, a roaring inferno of plasma. But behind the shield, in the shadow, the instruments are cool, resting at room temperature. This is the ultimate eye of the storm. You're flying through the sun's wispy atmosphere. Streamers of white plasma flow past you like celestial ribbons. The sun itself looms colossal, a wall of churning fire boiling with granules the size of Texas. But you are safe in the shadow. You can hear the roar of the magnetic fields, a chaotic, crackling sound picked up by the sensors. You are touching a star. Feel the intensity of that light, the raw power of it, and the safety of the shield that protects you. It is a feeling of being close to the source of all life, bathing in the ultimate warmth, yet remaining untouched, cool, and secure in your protective cocoon. The energy from that star does not stay there. It rushes outward in a constant stream, a solar wind that washes over the planets. We follow this wind back to Earth, to the poles, where it paints the sky. The auroras. Visualize standing on a snow-covered plain in the Arctic. The air is crisp and biting, the silence deep. The stars are sharp overhead. And then, the sky begins to breathe. Green ribbons of light unfurl across the darkness, twisting and curling like smoke in a jar. They are ghostly and translucent, shimmering with hints of violet and pink at the edges. This is the connection between the sun and the earth made visible. The solar particles are crashing into our atmosphere, guided by magnetic field lines, causing the air itself to glow. It is a silent symphony. The lights dance, spiking upward, rippling like curtains in a breeze that isn't there. It is hypnotic to watch. The movements are slow and fluid, then sudden and darting. Shimmer, fade, brighten. It feels like magic, but it is pure physics, a protective shield glowing under the bombardment. Imagine lying back in the snow, wrapped in warm furs watching this celestial ballet. The cold on your face, the warmth in your body, and the sky alive with emerald fire. It is a reminder that our planet is a magnet, a shield, catching the energy of the stars and turning it into art. Our gaze lifts now, looking beyond the sun, beyond the comets, out to the other stars that sprinkle the night. For centuries we wondered if we were unique. Now thanks to the Kepler telescope we know we are not. We have entered the era of exoplanets. Visualize a field of stars, thousands of them steady and unblinking. But if you watch one star closely with the patience of a computer, you see it dip in brightness. Just a fraction of a percent. Blink. It happens again a few days later. Blink. This is the shadow of a world passing in front of its sun. Imagine the variety of these worlds. Some are hot Jupiters, gas giants orbiting so close to their stars that they glow red. Some are super-Earths, rocky worlds twice the size of ours covered in global oceans. Some are diamond planets, carbon worlds compressed by gravity. Think of the numbers. Billions of stars, and nearly every one of them has a family of planets. We're not alone in having a home. The universe is cluttered with worlds, a crowded sky of potential. This realization expands the mind. It dissolves the feeling of isolation. Every point of light is a sun, and every sun is a campfire with worlds huddled around it, warming their hands in the dark. We end this part of the journey at a specific campfire, a neighbour called Trappist 1. It is a small, dim, ultra-cool red dwarf star glowing like a dying ember. But huddled around it, closer than Mercury is to our Sun, are 7 rocky worlds. 7 brothers and sisters, all Earth-sized, packed into a tight cosmic rhythmic chain. Imagine standing on the surface of the 4th planet in this system. The sun in the sky is large and salmon pink, casting a perpetual sunset glow over the landscape. But look up. In the sky, you do not just see stars, you see the other planets. They are so close that they appear as large as the moon does to us. You can see the clouds on the neighbour planet. You can see the continents. You can watch them rotate. It is a sky filled with worlds. If there were oceans there, you might catch the glint of sun on the water of a planet hanging above your head. It feels intimate, a village of planets. You are standing on one rock, looking up at 6 others, all suspended in a red twilight. The sense of proximity is comforting. It is a solar system that feels like a family, holding hands in the dark, revolving in a perfect, resonant harmony. 1, 2, 3. The orbits click together like the gears of a clock. It is a peaceful, orderly dance under a red sun, a place where the horizon is always filled with the promise of other places, other lands, just a short drift away. And as you stand in that red twilight, watching the massive crescent of a neighbour world rise over the mountains, let the sense of wonder settle deep into your chest. The universe is full, it is busy, it is dancing, and you are a part of it, safe, watching, and drifting. From that intimate gathering of worlds under a salmon-pink sun, where the planets hang like lanterns in the twilight, we allow our senses to shift. We have spent so much time looking, watching, and visualizing the light. But the universe is not just a canvas of silent images. If we could trade our ears for antennas, if we could tune into the electromagnetic currents flowing through the vacuum, we would realize that the cosmos is singing. Drift now into the realm of the invisible choir. We call these chorus waves. Imagine floating in the magnetosphere of a planet, in the invisible magnetic bubble that protects it. Here, energetic particles spiral and dance along the field lines. As they move, they create radio waves that, when converted to sound, mimic the dawn chorus of birds on Earth. Listen in the silence of your mind. It is a series of rising, chirping whistles. Tweet, chirp, whistle. It sounds wet, like a flock of electronic starlings calling to one another across a misty wetland. It is the sound of the electrons falling into the atmosphere, a song of protection. There are also whistlers, sounds lightning makes when it strikes the ground, travelling out into space and returning as a descending, mournful tone. Pee. It sounds like a laser in a dream, or a whale calling in the deep ocean. These sounds prove that the space around us is not dead space. It is a vibrant ocean of energy, humming, clicking, and singing a lullaby that never stops. Let this electronic bird song wash over you, a reminder that nature repeats its patterns, from the forest floor to the upper atmosphere. Guided by this celestial song, we drift toward the places where stars are born. We are entering the great stellar nurseries, the nebulae. Visualize the Great Orion Nebula, a cavern of light hanging in the sword of the hunter. It is a massive cloud of gas and dust stretching for 24 light years. But it is not a dark cloud, it is glowing. Imagine floating into this mist. It is tenuous, thinner than the finest smoke, yet vast enough to birth 1,000 suns. The colours here are soft and pastel. There are sheets of electric violet, folds of deep magenta, and curtains of soft, mossy green. It is like being inside a watercolour painting that is being painted in real time. In the centre, 4 massive young stars, the trapezium, blaze with ultraviolet fury. Their light acts like a wind, carving shapes into the gas. See the proplyds, the teardrop-shaped cocoons of gas. Inside each one, a new solar system is forming. A new sun, new planets, perhaps new eyes to look back at us one day. It is a place of slow, majestic creation. The dust here is warm, heated by the starlight. You're floating in a cosmic womb, surrounded by the raw material of the universe. There is a sense of infinite potential here. The chaos of the gas is beautiful, swirling in slow motion, creating pillars and mountains of dust that glow from within. Breathe in the beauty of this beginning, the softness of the light, the promise of the new stars waking up from their long sleep. But where there is a beginning, there is also an ending, and in the cosmos the ending is just a transformation. We drift from the nursery to the remnant, to the beautiful aftermath of a star that has given everything it had. This is the supernova remnant. Picture the Crab Nebula. It is the shattered remains of a star that exploded 1,000 years ago. But it does not look like destruction. It looks like a flower. Tendrils of red and orange gas stretch out like the petals of a chrysanthemum, intricate and laced with a web of filaments. In the very centre, there is a blue glow, a heartbeat of energy. This is the origin of you. Contemplate this profound truth as you lie there. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your lungs. All of it was forged in the fiery heart of a star that died long before the Earth was born. You're stardust. You're the universe observing itself. When a star explodes, it does not die in vain. It seeds the galaxy with the heavy elements needed for life. Visualize that gold dust, that silver powder, drifting through the dark, coalescing over eons to form the ground you walk on. You're connected to these tendrils of light. You're old as the stars themselves. Let that feeling of connection ground you. You belong to this vastness. You're not a stranger here. You're a child of this light. In the heart of that crab-like flower, something was left behind. A dense, spinning core. A pulsar. We move now to the rhythmic lighthouse of the galaxy. Imagine a star crushed down until it is only the size of a city, a sphere of neutrons spinning incredibly fast. It spins 30 times a second. Thump, 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 thump. With every rotation, it shoots a beam of radiation out into the cosmos, like the beam of a lighthouse sweeping across a dark ocean. When that beam sweeps past Earth, we hear a pulse. It is the most accurate clock in the universe. Visualize this spinning top in the dark. It is humming with power, possessing a magnetic field trillions of times stronger than Earth's. Yet, there is something hypnotic about its precision. It is the metronome of the night. If you were to float near it, you would see the strobe light effect, a rhythmic flashing that orders the chaos. It is a steady heartbeat in the silence. Focus on that imaginary rhythm. Let it synchronize with your own breathing. Flash, flash, flash. Steady, unchanging, reliable. The universe keeps time even when we lose track of it in our dreams. This spinning star will keep watch for millions of years, a guardian of time in the deep black. We pull back now, zooming out from the individual stars to look at the structure that holds them all. We're drifting toward the center of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. But we're not looking at the stars, we are looking at the spaces between them. We are looking at the Great Rift. If you have ever looked up at the Milky Way from a dark field, you have seen the river of white light. But cutting through that river are dark patches, silhouettes against the glow. These are the dark molecular clouds. They are cold, dense lanes of dust that block the starlight behind them. Imagine these clouds as rivers of velvet. They are the shadows that give the light its depth. They are vast ribbons of cold dust, stretching for thousands of light years. To float inside one would be to know total darkness, a cave in the sky. But from the outside, they are beautiful, like ink spilled on a glowing table. They wind through the galaxy, hiding secrets, hiding stars that are not yet ready to shine. There is a comfort in this shadow. It is a curtain drawn across the window, a shade pulled down to let the galaxy sleep. It reminds us that darkness is not empty. It is a substance, a texture, a necessary part of the beauty. Deeper we go, following the river of light and shadow, until we reach the very center of the carousel. the pivot point of the Milky Way. Here the stars do not drift, they swarm. They buzz around a central point like bees around a hive. And in the very centre, invisible to the eye but heavy with gravity, sits Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole. Do not imagine a monster. Imagine an anchor. It is the gravity of this object that holds our galaxy together, that allows our sun to orbit in its great year. Visualize the event horizon. It is a sphere of absolute shadow, a point of no return. But around it, swirling in a flat disk, is glowing gas. It glows amber and gold, heated by the friction of its orbit. As you look at this ring of light, you're looking at a place where time itself slows down. The gravity is so strong that seconds stretch into hours. It is a place of eternal pause. If you were to float near it, the universe behind you would seem to speed up, while you remained frozen in a single moment. It is the ultimate stillness, the great eye of the galaxy, unblinking and calm. The stars whip around it, but it sits motionless, a heavy, silent sovereign ruling over the swirling light. Let your mind rest on that stillness, the centre of the wheel where there is no motion, only the quiet hum of immense power holding everything in place. We leave the centre now, rising up above the disk of the galaxy. We look down at our home. We see the Milky Way for what it is, a spiral, a pinwheel of light floating in the void. It has arms, the Perseus arm, the Orion arm, curved structures filled with billions of stars. It is rotating, but so slowly that it takes 200 million years to make one turn. But we are not alone. Turning our gaze outward, across 2.5 million light-years of emptiness, we see a twin, the Andromeda Galaxy. It is a mirror image of our own home, a trillion stars swirling in a tilted disk. And it is getting closer. Gravity is pulling these two giants together, but do not fear this. It is not a crash. It is a dance, a slow-motion waltz that will take 4 billion years to complete. Visualize these two islands of light drifting toward one another through the dark ocean. They are yearning for connection. When they finally meet, they will pass through each other like ghosts, their stars too far apart to collide. They will swirl and mix, throwing streamers of stars out in long, graceful arcs, creating a new, larger galaxy. A supergalaxy. It is a destined union, written in the laws of physics since the beginning of time. It is a love story on a cosmic scale, playing out over eons, silent and inevitable. Zooming out even further, the galaxies themselves become specks of light. We are now looking at the large-scale structure of the universe. We are looking at Laniakea. This is our home supercluster. The word means immeasurable heaven in Hawaiian. Imagine a web, a three-dimensional lace of light. The galaxies are not scattered randomly. They flow in rivers. They slide along invisible strands of dark matter, flowing toward a gravitational valley. Laniakea is a collection of 100,000 galaxies, including ours, all flowing together like water in a watershed. It looks like the neural network of a brain, or the veins of a leaf. To see this is to understand that we're part of a massive flowing organism. We're drifting in a river of galaxies, pulled by the Great Attractor, a mysterious gravity point far away. The scale is impossible to comprehend, and that is comforting. We're so small, mere motes of dust in a glowing river. We do not need to steer. We do not need to struggle. We're simply being carried by the current of the universe, flowing alongside billions of other worlds toward a destiny we cannot see. Relax into that flow. Let the current take you. As we look as far as we can, back to the edge of the visible universe, we encounter a wall of heat, the cosmic microwave background. This is the oldest light in existence, the afterglow of the Big Bang itself. It is everywhere. If you turn on an old television to a dead channel, a small percent of that static is this light, whispering from the beginning of time. Visualize it not as a flash, but as a warm, pervasive bath. It surrounds the universe like an amniotic fluid. It is a uniform temperature, a remnant of the moment when the universe first became transparent. It is a fossil of the first breath the cosmos ever took. It holds us. It permeates the room you are sleeping in, passing through the walls, passing through you. You're bathing in the light of creation every moment of your life. It is a constant, steady background hum, a blanket of microwaves that has cooled over billions of years to merely a few degrees above absolute zero. It is the noise of existence, the static of reality, wrapping the entire cosmos in a faint glowing embrace. Finally, we settle into the silence that lies between these signals. We contemplate the Drake equation, the mathematical guess at how many friends we might have in this galaxy. We listen to the static searching for a pattern, visualize a massive radio telescope, a white dish turned upward like a cupped ear, resting in a quiet valley. It is listening. It waits. Silence. Silence. But this is not a lonely silence. It is a pregnant silence, a silence filled with possibility. The fact that we have not heard them yet means the mystery remains. It means the universe is still vast enough to hide things. It allows us to dream. Imagine the civilizations that might be out there, sleeping under their own suns, looking up at our sun as a faint star, wondering if we are here. We are sharing the same night. We are sharing the same carbon, the same physics, the same silence. There is a profound peace in the waiting, in the not knowing. It makes the universe feel magical, a dark forest filled with hidden watchers. We are the listeners in the dark, holding our breath, hopeful and patient. The dish waits, the stars burn, and we drift, content in the quiet, content to be the part of the universe that is awake to wonder, before we too drift off to sleep. The silence is not empty. It is the canvas upon which our dreams are painted. Soft, heavy, velvet silence. And in that heavy velvet silence, where the great dishes of our world wait patiently for a whisper, we discover that there are places in the universe designed for absolute stillness. We drift away from the Earth now, away from the moon, travelling 1 million miles out into the deep midnight behind our planet. Here, we find a unique pocket of gravity, a cosmic resting place known as a Lagrange point. Imagine a specific spot in the void where the gravitational pull of the sun and the Earth cancel each other out perfectly. It is a celestial balancing act, a precise equilibrium. If you were to place a stone here, it would not fall toward the sun, nor would it fall back to Earth. It would simply hover, locked in a permanent synchronized orbit with our world. It is a parking spot in the nothingness. Visualize this sensation of perfect balance. It is like a ball resting at the very bottom of a bowl, or a leaf caught in an eddy of a stream, spinning slowly but going nowhere relative to the water. In this region of stability, there is no need to fight the current. The fuel required to stay here is minimal. It is the ultimate path of least resistance. The darkness here is deep and uninterrupted, as the Earth constantly eclipses the sun, blocking out the blinding glare. It is a shadow sanctuary, a place where humanity places its most sensitive eyes because the quiet is so profound. To float here is to be held by the invisible hands of 2 massive celestial bodies, suspended in a hammock of gravity, rocking gently in the endless night. The stability seeps into you, a feeling of being exactly where you are meant to be, held in place by the laws of nature, motionless and calm. Floating in this stable shadow, we encounter the magnificent machine that calls this place home, the James Webb Space Telescope. But do not think of it as a machine of metal and bolts. Think of it as a giant silver origami flower that unfolded in the dark. Picture the base of this telescope. It is protected by a sun shield the size of a tennis court, made of 5 thin layers of a material called capton. These layers are as thin as a human hair, shining like silver foil. They separate fire from ice. On the side facing the sun, the shield is hot, baking in the fierce solar rays. But on the other side, the side where the mirrors live, it is cold. Incredibly, deeply cold. Visualize the temperature dropping as you pass through each layer. Layer 1, warmer. Layer 5, darker, colder. By the time you reach the dark side, the temperature is hundreds of degrees below zero. It is a permanent artificial winter. In this freezing shadow, the telescope's mirrors, 18 hexagonal segments plated in pure gold, open up like a honeycomb. They are looking for the heat of the ancient universe. Because it is so cold here, the telescope can sense the warmth of a bumblebee on the moon. It is the ultimate listener, the ultimate watcher, sitting in its cold, golden chair, staring into the dust clouds of the cosmos without blinking. The silence around it is absolute, broken only by the slow, thermal creaking of the material settling into the deep freeze. And what does this golden eye see in the dark? It sees a type of light that our eyes cannot. Infrared. We drift now into the concept of invisible warmth. To our human eyes, the universe is filled with dark clouds, thick curtains of dust that hide the stars. But to the infrared eye, these clouds are transparent smoke. Imagine looking at a thick grey thunderhead. Now, imagine that cloud suddenly turning into a sheer, gossamer veil. Behind it, you see the glittering jewels that were hidden. This is the magic of infrared. It turns the walls of the universe into windows. We can look inside the cocoons of stellar nurseries and see the baby stars glowing red and warm within their dusty blankets. Visualize the universe not as points of white light, but as a landscape of heat. Every object that has warmth glows. The dust lanes glow like embers, the planets glow like coals. You're seeing the thermal breath of the cosmos. It is a softer way of seeing, a vision that detects life and energy rather than just reflection. It feels intimate, like seeing the body heat of a sleeper in a dark room. The harshness of the visible spectrum fades away, replaced by the gentle, glowing pulse of thermal energy. It is a world of reds and oranges, deep purples and browns, a warm, cozy spectrum that feels like sitting by a fireplace in the middle of a winter night. From this vision of new stars, we travel to the resting places of the old ones. We drift toward the halo of our galaxy, away from the busy spiral arms, to find the globular clusters. Imagine a spherical swarm of stars, a ball of light so dense that the center looks like a solid sun. These are the ancient cities of the galaxy. While the stars in the spiral arms are young and spread out, the stars here are old, 10, 12, maybe 13 billion years old. They have been together since the dawn of the galaxy. Imagine standing on a planet inside one of these clusters. The night sky would not be black. It would be blazing with thousands of stars, some so close they would cast shadows on the ground. There would be no true night, only a deep twilight glow. These stars are like old friends who have spent an eternity in each other's company. They dance in tight, complex orbits, buzzing around the hive. There is a sense of community here, of density and history. These clusters are the historians of the universe, holding the memories of the early eons in their burning hearts. To drift near a globular cluster is to approach a treasure chest of jewels, diamonds, rubies, and sapphires, spilled out onto black velvet. They are stable, enduring, and incredibly beautiful, a testament to the longevity of light. They remind us that some things do not fade. They simply gather together and shine brighter with age. As we contemplate the aging of stars, we must confront the beautiful fate that awaits our own sun. We move to the concept of the white dwarf. When a star like ours finishes its long life, it does not explode in violence, it simply sighs. It sheds its outer layers of gas, creating a colourful nebula, and what remains is the core. A small, dense sphere, no larger than the Earth, but containing the mass of a sun. Imagine this object. It is made of carbon and oxygen, compressed by gravity until it is hard as stone. It glows with a fierce white-hot heat, but it is no longer burning fuel. It is slowly, over billions of years, cooling down. and as it cools, something magical happens. The carbon begins to crystallize. Think of a diamond. A diamond is just carbon that has been squeezed by pressure and time. A cooling white dwarf is essentially a diamond the size of a planet. Visualize a star turning into a crystal. It sits in the center of the nebula it created, a glittering jewel at the heart of a cosmic flower. Astronomers have found such stars ringing like giant gongs, pulsating with a diamond resonance. It is the ultimate state of peace, a star that has finished its work, shed its burdens, and solidified into a gemstone of eternal light. It will float there forever, a silent, sparkling monument to the light it once gave the world. But the universe is not just made of matter, it is made of fabric, space-time itself. And sometimes this fabric ripples. We drift now to the phenomenon of gravitational waves. Imagine the universe is a vast, calm pond. The surface is smooth and glassy black. Now imagine two massive black holes dancing around each other in the distance. They spiral in faster and faster until they collide. Splash. The energy of that collision is so vast it shakes the pond. Ripples travel outward, moving at the speed of light. These are not ripples of water, they are ripples of space itself. When these waves pass through you, they stretch and squeeze the very reality you occupy. You become infinitesimally taller, then infinitesimally wider. But you do not feel it. It is a ghost touch. These waves travel for billions of years, passing through stars, planets, and you, carrying the story of that collision. To detect them, we built massive tunnels, miles long, with lasers running through them. We listen for the wobble, the tiny shiver in the laser beam that tells us space has just jiggled. And when we hear it, it sounds like a chirp, a short, rising tone. Whoop! It is the universe speaking. It is the sound of gravity. It creates a sense of profound connection to realize that space is not empty emptiness, but a substance that can shake, shiver, and ring like a bell. We are floating in a fluid of reality, bobbing gently on the invisible waves of cosmic events. Drifting on these waves, we encounter a wanderer that has no home, a rogue planet. We're used to planets orbiting stars held on a leash of gravity, but there are worlds that have broken free, billions of them, floating alone in the interstellar dark. Visualize one of these worlds. It is a planet the size of Jupiter, but there is no sun in its sky. It is a world of eternal night. You might think this is a lonely, cold place, but look closer. It is not dead. The atmosphere is thick and swirling with storms. It still has heat from its formation, glowing with a dull infrared light. There is a supreme freedom here. This planet answers to no star. It has no year, for it completes no orbit. It has no day, for there is no sunrise. It simply drifts, a nomadic king of the void, charting its own path through the galaxy. It moves through the silence of the interstellar medium, untethered and unbothered. Imagine the peace of that existence. No alarm clocks, no seasons, no schedules. Just the endless forward momentum through the starfields. It is a traveller of the night, a silent ship sailing the deepest ocean, secure in its own gravity, complete unto itself. It teaches us that solitude is not the same as loneliness. It is a state of independence and grace. Moving further out to the very edge of what we can call ours, we find the shell that encases our solar system, the Oort cloud. We often think of the solar system as a flat disk, like a dinner plate, but at the furthest edges, it becomes a sphere. Imagine a colossal bubble made of icy debris surrounding the sun at a distance of a light year or more. This is the home of the comets, trillions of jagged frozen rocks drifting in the most slow, lazy orbits imaginable. A single year for a comet out here can take 30 million Earth years. They are barely moving, hovering in the twilight. This is the womb of the comets, the deep freeze storage of the solar system. The sun from here is just the brightest star in the sky. indistinguishable from the others to the naked eye. It is so quiet here that the silence has a texture, a thickness. You're standing on the boundary wall of our home, the last outpost before the true deep interstellar space begins. It is a protective shell, a cloudy sphere of potential energy waiting for a nudge to send a visitor inward. Feel the vastness of this sphere. It wraps around us like a blanket, miles and miles of empty space and silent ice, keeping the noise of the galaxy at bay. But even before the Oort cloud, there is a boundary made of wind, the heliosphere. We drift inward slightly to find the edge of the sun's influence. The sun is constantly blowing a stream of particles outward, the solar wind. This wind creates a bubble in the fabric of the galaxy. Visualize this bubble. It is pushing back against the interstellar medium, the gas and dust that fills the space between stars. There is a specific point, called the termination shock, where the solar wind slows down and piles up, like water hitting a wall. It creates a bow shock, like a boat moving through water, a wave of plasma pushing ahead of us as we travel through the galaxy. We live inside this bubble. It is a cocoon of solar protection. Outside of it, the cosmic rays are harsh, and the gas is different. But inside, we are in the atmosphere of our star. Think of the Voyager probes, which have crossed this threshold. As they passed through, they heard the plasma humming, a dense, constant vibration. It is the sound of the shield holding. Knowing we're inside this protective sphere gives a sense of security. We're not just exposed to the open galaxy, we're travelling in a vessel, a bubble of familiar chemistry shielded by the breath of our own sun as we move through the void. And how do we move? We move in a great circle. This brings us to the concept of the galactic year. We tend to think of time in hours, days, or Earth years, but the sun itself is moving. It orbits the black hole at the centre of the Milky Way, dragging all the planets with it. It moves at 500,000 miles per hour, yet the galaxy is so vast that it takes 230 million years to complete one single lap. This is a galactic year. Think about the last time we were in this part of the galaxy. The Earth was here, but humans were not. The dinosaurs were just beginning to rise. The continents were in different places. The flowers had not yet evolved. We have travelled all the way around the wheel of the Milky Way, through the spiral arms, through the dust clouds, and we have returned to this spot, but everything has changed. This is the longest clock we know. It ticks slowly, majestically. It reminds us that our daily rush is nothing in the face of cosmic time. The galaxy turns like a giant slow carousel. We are just riders watching the scenery change over aeons. Let this immense scale of time relax your mind. There is no rush. There is only the slow, steady orbit of the sun, carrying us through the ages, safe in the arms of the spiral, round and round in the eternal dance of gravity. Sleep now in the comfort of this long, slow journey. And as we drift on the currents of that slow, majestic galactic year, circling the centre of the Milky Way, we begin to notice the company we keep. From our vantage point on Earth, we're used to a singular, lonely sun. We have one star, one shadow, one sunrise, but this is an anomaly. In the great expanse of the galaxy, solitude is rare. We drift now toward the concept of the binary star systems. Imagine a sky where there are two suns. Visualize a world orbiting a pair of stars locked in an eternal gravitational embrace. These stars are celestial dancers, pirouetting around a common centre of gravity, never touching but never letting go. Often they are different colours. Picture a massive deep orange giant star, cool and swollen, paired with a tiny brilliant blue companion that zips around it like a hummingbird. On a planet in this system, the concept of day and night is entirely different. Imagine standing on a dune in this alien world. The orange sun sets, casting long, soft shadows and bathing the land in an amber twilight. But the day does not end, for the blue sun is still high in the sky, casting a sharp azure light that mixes with the orange to create a sky of impossible violet. There are double shadows stretching from your feet, one long and soft, one short and sharp. Sometimes both suns rise together, a double dawn of fire and ice. The gravity of these two stars pulling on one another creates a rhythm, a celestial waltz that has continued for billions of years. It is a reminder that in the cosmos, relationships are the norm. Even the stars themselves seek a partner to share the long dark. But not all stars burn with such brilliance. Drifting away from the dazzling pairs, we descend into the shadows to find the shy siblings of the stellar family, the brown dwarfs. These are the bridge between a planet and a star, objects that formed in the nebula but never gathered quite enough mass to ignite the nuclear fire. Visualize a sphere of gas, massive compared to Jupiter but tiny compared to the Sun. It does not shine with visible light. It glows, it smoulders. If you were to float near a brown dwarf, you would not see a blinding white surface. You would see a world of deep, bruised magenta, or perhaps a swirling, chaotic mix of red and purple clouds, glowing with the heat of their own compression. It is a star that failed to start, but in that failure, it found a quiet, warm beauty. It is pleasant here. The heat is not a scorching incinerator, but a radiant warmth, like a cooling ember in a fireplace. These worlds are often covered in clouds, but not clouds of water. They are clouds of molten iron and silicate dust raining liquid metal into the depths. Yet, from a safe distance, it looks like a velvet marble, dark and mysterious. They are the invisible population of the galaxy, floating in the spaces between the bright stars, hiding in the dark. They represent the potential that settled into peace rather than burning itself out. A quiet, warm existence in the eternal twilight, comfortable in its own dim grandeur. From the dim and steady, we move to the rhythmic and pulsing. We encounter the variable stars, specifically the Cepheids. These are stars that breathe. Imagine a star that is not constant. It is a living lung of plasma. Over the course of days or weeks, it physically expands, growing larger and cooler, and then contracts, becoming smaller and hotter. Inhale, exhale. The light from this star dims and brightens with clockwork precision. Visualize looking at it from a nearby moon. The star is a bright beacon, illuminating the landscape. Then, slowly, over days, the light softens. The shadows blur. The world grows dimmer as if a dimmer switch is being lowered, and then the cycle reverses. The light returns, crisp and brilliant. This rhythmic pulsation is so precise that astronomers use these stars as cosmic yardsticks, lighthouses that tell us how far away things are. But for us, in this dream, it is a heartbeat. It is the pulse of the cosmos made visible. To lie under the light of a Cepheid variable is to feel the universe breathing above you. Bright, dim, bright, dim. It is a hypnotic cycle, a visual lullaby that rocks the solar system to sleep. It teaches us that even the stars are not static. They are dynamic, shifting, and alive with energy that ebbs and flows like the tide. We drift further from the heat of the stars now, looking for a very specific region in the emptiness. We are looking for the Goldilocks zone, the habitable zone. This is the narrow band around a star where the temperature is exactly right, not too hot, like the roasting plains of Mercury, and not too cold, like the frozen methane seas of Titan. Visualize this zone as a ribbon of comfort wrapping around a fire. It is a sanctuary of temperate balance. If you float here, you do not need a heavy shield against the heat, nor do you need a heater against the cold. The sunlight feels like a spring morning on your skin. It is gentle. In this zone, a miracle becomes possible: liquid water. Imagine a planet floating in this ribbon. You can see the glint of sunlight reflecting off open oceans. Clouds of white water vapor drift lazily across blue skies. This zone represents the perfect compromise, the balance point where life can take a breath. It is a reminder that the universe, for all its extremes of fire and ice, creates spaces of gentleness, places where a calm equilibrium allows for softness, for growth, for the gentle lapping of waves against a shore. We are lucky to reside in such a zone, in the warm embrace of the sun's perfect distance, held in the comfortable middle ground of existence. And speaking of that precious liquid, we realise as we travel that it is not unique to Earth. We drift now to the concept of cosmic water. We used to think our blue oceans were a rarity, a solitary jewel in a dry desert. But the more we look, the more we see that the universe is drenched. Visualise the great molecular clouds in deep space, like the Orion Nebula we visited before. We have discovered that these clouds are factories of water. Every day they produce enough water to fill all the oceans on Earth 60 times over. But it is not liquid there. It is a fine mist of ice crystals, a fog of snow floating in the vacuum. Think of the beauty of that image, a snowstorm in the stars. Water is the second most common molecule in the universe. It is everywhere. It is in the ice caps of Mars, the deep subsurface oceans of Europa, the rings of Saturn, and the comets that wander the dark. It is the thread that connects all worlds. Imagine drifting through a nebula where the fog is made of pure water vapour. It feels cleansing, refreshing. The universe is not a dry, dead place. It is juicy. It is flowing. The potential for rain, for oceans, for rivers, is woven into the very chemistry of the stars. We are swimming in a galaxy that is wet with possibility. From the commonality of water, we travel to the ultimate rarity. We drift toward a specific point in the constellation of Cancer, to a planet named 55 Cancri E. But let us call it by its nature, the Diamond Planet. Imagine a world twice the size of Earth, orbiting so close to its star that its year lasts only 18 hours. It is hot, incredibly hot. But because of this heat and the immense gravity, and because the planet is made largely of carbon, the conditions are perfect for a transformation. The surface of this world is likely graphite, dark, soft fields of carbon. But dig deeper. Beneath the crust, the pressure is so intense that the planet's mantle is made of diamond. Imagine a layer of diamond thousands of miles thick. If you could see inside, it would be a prism of blinding beauty. The light from the nearby star enters the surface and is refracted, split into a million rainbows dancing through the clear, hard crystal. It is a planet of pure luxury, a jewel setting in the dark velvet of space. But it is untouched, unmined, existing solely for its own beauty. It sparkles in the thermal gloom, a testament to what pressure can create. It reminds us that even under the most intense weight, under the crushing burden of gravity, something exquisite and clear can be formed. The universe takes dust and pressure and turns it into treasure. As we stare at the light bending through the diamond world, we realise that gravity can bend light in other ways too. We drift to the phenomenon of gravitational lensing. Imagine you're looking at a distant galaxy, a cluster of yellow lights far, far away. But between you and that galaxy sits a massive object, a cluster of dark matter or a black hole. You cannot see the object, but you can see what it does to the light. The gravity of the invisible object acts like a giant glass lens. It grabs the light from the background galaxy and bends it, warping it into a circle. Visualize a smear of light, a perfect ring of gold surrounding a dark center. This is an Einstein ring. It looks like a portal or a cosmic eye staring back at you. The universe is full of these funhouse mirrors. Light does not always travel in a straight line. It curves around the heavy places. It flows like water around a stone. This lensing allows us to see things that are hidden behind other things, magnifying them, bringing the distant near. It is a visual trick of the cosmos, a playful bending of reality. Watching these warped arcs of light gives you a feeling of the malleability of space. The view is not rigid, it is fluid. The stars stretch and curve, painting abstract art on the canvas of the night. We look through these lenses now, peering back to the very early universe to see the brightest beacons in existence, the quasars. Imagine a time when the universe was young and wild. In the center of a newborn galaxy, a supermassive black hole is feeding. It is consuming gas and dust at an alarming rate. As this material spirals in, it heats up to millions of degrees, shining with a brilliance that outshines the entire galaxy around it. This is a quasar. It is a lighthouse beam that cuts across the entire universe. Visualize a jet of pure energy shooting out from the poles of the black hole, a narrow beam of white-hot plasma traveling near the speed of light. It pierces the intergalactic gloom. These objects are so bright that we can see them from billions of light-years away. They are the ancient campfires of the cosmos. But from our distance, they are not dangerous. They are just steady, bright points of light. They are the history books. When we look at a quasar, we are looking at a ghost. The light we see left that object when the Earth was just dust. The quasar has likely burned out billions of years ago, but its light is still travelling, still arriving, a messenger from the deep past. It is a comforting thought. The light survives. Long after the fire has gone out, the brilliance continues to travel, bringing illumination to the future. But what holds all of this together? We see the stars, the gas, the quasars, but they are moving too fast. By all the laws of physics, the galaxy should fly apart. They are spinning so quickly that the stars should be flung out into the void like water from a spinning tyre, but they stay. We drift now into the presence of the invisible giant, dark matter. Imagine a vast, three-dimensional spiderweb, a scaffolding that fills the entire universe. You cannot see it. It does not glow. It does not reflect. It does not block light. It passes right through your hand, but it has mass. It has gravity. The visible universe, the stars, the planets, you, me. We are just the dewdrops clinging to the silk of this spiderweb. The dark matter is the structure. It is the bowl that holds the soup of the galaxy. Visualize this invisible network. It is the cradle of the cosmos. It wraps around the galaxies, holding them in a tight protective embrace. Without it, the sun would leave the Milky Way. Without it, the structure of the universe would dissolve. It is a silent, unseen guardian, a heavy hand that keeps the family of stars together. Feel the comfort of that invisible weight. You are being held by something you cannot see, a fundamental force that ensures stability in the chaos. The universe is not falling apart. It is bound together by this mysterious dark gravity, secure and whole. And yet, while the dark matter pulls things together, there is another force, one even more mysterious, that is pushing things apart. We end this part of our journey with the concept of dark energy. If dark matter is the gravity that pulls in, dark energy is the breath that pushes out. We discover that the universe is not just expanding, it is accelerating. The galaxies are moving away from each other faster and faster every day. Imagine the universe is a great lung, and it is taking a deep, slow inhalation. The space between the galaxies is stretching. New space is being created out of nothingness, bubbling up and pushing the islands of light apart. This is not a violent explosion. It is a gentle, relentless stretching. It is the ultimate opening up. The cosmos is making more room for itself. Visualize the vast empty voids between the galaxy clusters growing larger, quieter, deeper. It is a destiny of solitude, but also of peace. The energy of the vacuum itself is causing this expansion. It suggests that the natural state of the universe is growth, a constant reaching outward into the infinite. Let your mind expand with it. Feel the boundaries of your thoughts stretching, pushing out, making room for silence, making room for sleep. The universe is getting bigger, and within that vastness, your worries become smaller and smaller, lost in the ever-expanding sea of the night. Drift in this expanding space. Feel the quiet growth. The stars are far away, and the space between them is a soft, dark cushion, getting thicker and softer with every passing moment. You're floating in a universe that is exhaling, releasing all tension, expanding into a forever of calm. And as we surrender to that vast, expanding breath of the cosmos, feeling the universe stretching out into the infinite, we realize that with expansion comes a profound cooling. The heat of the Big Bang has dissipated over aeons, leaving the background of space shivering at mere degrees above absolute zero. But there is a place that is colder still, a place that is the quietest, most frozen sanctuary in the entire galaxy. We drift now toward the constellation of Centaurus, to the ghost-like form of the Boomerang Nebula. Visualize a celestial bow tie, a soft, symmetrical knot of gas glowing faintly in the dark. It is expanding outward at such a rapid speed, over 300,000 miles per hour, that it has chilled itself to a temperature lower than the empty vacuum of space. It is 1 degree Kelvin. It is the coldest natural place in the known universe. Imagine floating into this nebula. The atoms here are almost perfectly still. In the physics of heat, motion is warmth and stillness is cold. Here, the molecular dance has slowed to a near halt. The silence in this frozen cloud is heavy and absolute. It is a deep freeze that preserves the silence of the void. The gas is a ghostly white, reflecting the light of a dying star hidden deep within its center. To enter this space is to enter a state of suspended animation. It is a place where entropy has paused, where the chaotic energy of the universe has been soothed into a shivering standstill. Let the image of this frozen bow tie calm your mind. Think of it as a cooling compress for your thoughts, numbing the noise, slowing the frantic motion of the day until you are as still and as peaceful as the atoms in this deep, cold mist. From the coldest emptiness, we descend into the heaviest depth. We leave the open vacuum and dive into the thick, crushing atmospheres of the ice giants, Uranus and Neptune. We're going deep below the blue clouds, down where the pressure is so intense that it defies imagination. Here, in the dark heart of these planets, a phenomenon occurs that sounds like a fairy tale, but is a reality of physics. It is raining diamonds. Picture the atmosphere thickening around you. The blue sky turns to a heavy, dark indigo fog, then to a slush of hot, dense ices. The pressure here is millions of times stronger than the air on Earth. It squeezes the methane molecules until they break apart. The carbon atoms are stripped free, and under this immense weight, they are crushed together. They crystallize. Visualize these stones forming in the dark. They are not rough rocks. They are perfect, clear diamonds. Some are the size of pebbles, others are the size of boulders. They form in the upper layers of the mantle and then begin a slow, silent descent. A rain of jewels falling through a liquid sky. Imagine the soundlessness of this event. There is no ground for them to hit, no tin roof to clatter against. They simply sink, deeper and deeper, through layers of liquid hydrogen and helium, settling eventually around the rocky core. It is a hidden treasury, a secret hoard of wealth sinking into the center of a lonely planet. The thought is strangely soothing, a cascade of glittering stones falling forever in the dark, unseen by any eye. A private display of beauty created solely by the embrace of gravity. We rise from these crushing depths, back to the ringed wonder of Saturn, to witness a mystery of geometry at the top of the world. We drift to the north pole of the planet. Here, the clouds do not swirl in a spiral. They form a perfect sharp-edged hexagon. It is a six-sided storm, wider than two Earths side by side. Imagine looking down at this structure. The sides are straight lines, the angles are sharp, yet it is made entirely of wind and mist. It is a standing wave, a jet stream that has found a harmonious frequency and locked itself into this shape. It creates a sense of order in the chaos of the gas giant. The colours inside this hexagon change with the seasons. When the long 7-year summer arrives, the sunlight interacts with the haze, turning the storm a brilliant golden yellow. As winter approaches, it cools to a deep, serene azure. Imagine watching this slow transformation, the great hexagon spinning silently, a golden eye turning to a blue one over the course of years. Inside the shape, smaller storms swirl in circles, but the walls of the hexagon remain firm. It is hypnotic to watch, a kaleidoscope of wind that refuses to break its pattern. It reminds us that nature loves structure, that even in the most fluid and storm-tossed places, there is a hidden architecture holding everything together. Drifting south from the pole, we come to the edge of the magnificent rings. We have visited the rings before, seeing them as a river of ice, but now we focus on the guardians of that river, the shepherd moons. Visualize the F-ring, a thin, twisted strand of ice at the outer edge of the main rings. Orbiting on either side of this ring are two small potato-shaped moons, Prometheus and Pandora. They are the shepherds. Their job is to keep the flock in line. Watch how they work. As Prometheus swings by in its orbit, its gravity gently pulls on the icy particles that have drifted too far out. It nudges them back into the stream. Pandora, on the outside, pushes the stragglers back in. They are constantly herding the ice, carving a clean, dark path through the dust. The movement is a graceful dance. The moons dip in and out, creating ripples and waves in the ring material that look like the wake of a boat. It is a gentle interaction, a celestial guiding hand. It gives a sense of care. The rings are not just left to dissipate, they are tended to. They are maintained. Visualize these silent sentinels orbiting forever, keeping the chaos at bay, ensuring the rings remain a perfect narrow road of light. It is a comforting thought to know that there are forces in the universe whose sole purpose is to keep things on the right path, to maintain the beauty of the structure. We leave the realm of the planets now, drawn by the gravity of the star that rules them all. We journey to the very centre of our solar system, to the core of the sun. We're not here to feel the heat, but to understand the struggle of the light. We're here to witness the photon's journey. Deep in the core, a photon of light is born from the fusion of atoms. It is a packet of pure energy, but it is not free. The core is so dense, packed so tight with protons and electrons, that the photon cannot travel in a straight line. It moves a fraction of an inch and bump, it hits a particle. It bounces off, moves another fraction, and bump, hits another. This is the random walk. Visualize this tiny spark of light trying to find its way out of a crowded room. It zigs and zags, bouncing billions of times. It can take 100,000 years for this single photon to fight its way from the center of the sun to the surface. 100,000 years of wandering in the blinding white maze, but then finally it reaches the photosphere. The crowd thins, the path opens, the photon is released. In an instant, it stretches its legs and races across the void. It travels 93 million miles in just 8 minutes, arriving at Earth to warm your face on a summer day. When you feel that warmth, you are feeling energy that is ancient. You are feeling a traveller that spent aeons lost in the dark, struggling to get out, only to finally break free and find you. It is a story of patience and eventual liberation. No matter how long the journey, no matter how dense the obstacle, the light eventually finds its way out. And as that light breaks free from the surface, it illuminates the atmosphere of the sun itself. We drift above the surface to witness the phenomenon of coronal rain. We tend to think of the sun as a ball of fire, but it has weather, it has rain. But this rain is not water, it is plasma, electrified gas. Visualize giant magnetic loops stretching up from the sun's surface, towering thousands of miles high, like the arches of a cathedral made of fire. As the plasma climbs these loops, it cools down, it condenses, and then gravity takes hold. Watch the rain fall. Glowing blobs of plasma, millions of degrees hot yet cooler than the surroundings, cascade down the legs of the loops. It looks like a waterfall of fireworks. It flows in slow motion because of the immense scale, tracing the invisible magnetic lines. Splash, splash. It falls back into the churning ocean of the sun. The sight is spectacularly beautiful. A fountain of light that recycles itself. It is a reminder that even stars have cycles of rising and falling, of heating and cooling. The fire is not static, it is fluid, moving with the grace of water, painting arcs of brilliance against the black of space. We turn our backs on the sun now, looking out into the plane of the solar system. As twilight falls on Earth, if you are in a very dark place, you might see a faint ghostly triangle of light stretching up from the horizon. This is the zodiacal light. It is the false dawn. But it is not sunlight hitting the atmosphere, it is sunlight hitting the dust of the solar system. Imagine the space between the planets. It is not truly empty. It is sprinkled with the fine dust left behind by comets and colliding asteroids. This dust settles into a flat disk, like a sheer glittering tablecloth spread out around the sun. When the sun sets, its light catches these billions of microscopic motes. They scatter the light, creating a soft, pearly glow that marks the path of the planets. Visualize this pyramid of white light. It is delicate, ethereal, erasing the boundary between the earth and the sky. It is the architecture of our home made visible. It tells us that we are floating in a sea of diamond dust. It is a gentle, hazy nightlight that lingers after the sun has gone, a soft reminder of the star that anchors us. If we wait longer, until the dead of midnight, and look directly overhead, opposite the sun, we might see an even fainter glow, the Gegenschein, the counterglow. This is an elusive patch of light, oval and dim, hovering in the darkest part of the sky. It is caused by the same dust, but this time the sun is directly behind the earth, shining past us and illuminating the dust straight on. It is like the full moon of the dust cloud. To see the Gegenschein is a rare privilege. It requires the deepest darkness, the kind found in the middle of the ocean or high in the mountains. Imagine lying on your back staring at this subtle smudge of light. It is the ghost of the sun, reflected in the mirror of the cosmic dust. It is a light that requires silence and darkness to be seen. It teaches us to look for the subtle things, the faint signals that are easily drowned out by the noise of the day. It is a secret shared between the midnight watcher and the dusty architecture of the solar system. As we look up at that midnight sky, we see our constant companion, the moon. We think of it as an airless rock, but in truth, it has a tail. We drift now to the concept of the lunar tail. The moon has a very thin, tenuous atmosphere called an exosphere, made partly of sodium atoms kicked up by the solar wind, and just like a comet, the pressure of the sunlight pushes these sodium atoms away from the moon, streaming out behind it for hundreds of thousands of miles. Visualize this invisible tail. It is a stream of golden orange particles flowing like a long silk scarf in the solar breeze. Once a month, when the moon is new, the Earth passes through this tail. We are dusted by the moon's atmosphere. Invisible sodium particles rain down into our upper atmosphere, creating a faint glow that only sensitive cameras can see. It connects us. We are not just looking at the moon, we are occasionally bathing in its wake. It changes the moon from a static rock into a ship sailing through the plasma sea, leaving a wake that washes over our shores. It is a gentle, silent connection, a stream of stardust linking the satellite to its parent world. Finally, we realize that Earth too has a tail. We drift out to see the magneto-tail. Our planet is a magnet, and as the solar wind rushes past us, it stretches our magnetic field out behind us like a windsock in a gale. Visualize this structure. On the day side, the magnetic field is compressed, a shield holding the line. But on the night side, it stretches out for nearly 4 million miles, a long cylinder of magnetic energy flickering in the dark. It creates a tunnel of protection in the shadow of the Earth. Inside this tail, the plasma is calm. It is a wake of quiet water behind a boat moving upstream. The full moon often passes through this tail, protected from the solar wind for a few hours. Imagine the Earth as a comet-like object, trailing this invisible cloak of energy. It gives a sense of motion. We are hurtling through the galaxy, and our magnetic hair is blowing back in the wind. We're moving forward, always forward, shielded and streaming, a traveller with a long flowing train of energy sweeping through the stars. And in that long protective shadow, we find the perfect place to rest. And nestled within that protective magnetic shadow, where the solar wind is silenced and the Earth rests in its own wake, we discover that our planet has secrets hiding in the gravity wells. We are taught that Earth has one moon, a solitary silver companion. But if you look with eyes that can see the faintest collection of dust, you will find the Kordylewski clouds. Imagine two vast, ghostly accumulations of dust, hovering in the same path as the moon, but 60 degrees ahead and 60 degrees behind. These are the ghost moons of Earth. They are not solid rock. They are made of the finest cosmic powder, gathered over millions of years. They sit in the Lagrange points, those stable pockets of space we spoke of earlier, where gravity creates a natural harbour. Visualize these clouds as sheer curtains of ancient particles, each one as wide as the Earth itself. They are so faint that they are almost impossible to see against the black backdrop of space, visible only as a slight brightening of the night, a subtle haze that obscures the stars behind them. They are like quiet, shy siblings to our bright moon, travelling the same road but remaining forever in the background. Think of the gentleness of this image. Massive clouds of dust, held together not by a hard crust, but by the soft hands of gravity, drifting silently in our orbit. They are the unseen guardians, the dust catchers of the night, reminding us that even in the empty spaces, there is structure and presence soft and intangible floating alongside us in the dark. From the sight of this dust, we allow our senses to shift to something more primal, something we rarely associate with the vacuum, the sense of smell. We travel back to the surface of the moon, to the moment the astronauts climbed back into their lander, pulled off their helmets, and took their first breath of the cabin air. They were greeted by a scent. The moon has a smell. It clings to the suits, to the gloves, to the boots. It is the smell of the lunar dust, the regolith that has been bombarded by solar radiation for billions of years. Imagine the astronauts describing it. It smells like spent gunpowder. It smells like wet ashes in a fireplace after a long, cozy winter night. It is a sharp, metallic, charcoal scent. This is the aroma of the cosmos. Because there is no wind to weather the stones, the dust particles are jagged and chemically reactive. When they touch the oxygen in the lander, they release this distinctive odour. Imagine that scent filling your mind, the smell of a campfire that has just burned out, the smell of slate and iron. It is a grounding scent, heavy and dry. It connects the celestial body to the earth beneath your feet. It smells of history, of ancient geology, of a place that has been burnt by the sun and frozen by the shadow until it carries the very essence of fire and ash. It is the perfume of the silence, a sensory memory of a world where nothing grows, yet everything endures. But if we leave the moon and travel much deeper into the galaxy, toward the centre where the stars are thick and the molecular clouds are vast, the scent changes. We drift toward a giant cloud called Sagittarius B2. This is not a cloud of dust. It is a chemistry lab floating in the void. Scientists have analysed the light coming from this cloud to determine what molecules are floating there. And they found something delightful. They found ethyl formate. On Earth, this is the chemical that gives raspberries their flavour and rum its smell. Visualise a cloud spanning light years, billions of miles of gas, that smells faintly of sweet rum and tastes of raspberries. It is a whimsical reality hidden in the serious darkness of space. If you could float through this nebula without a helmet, breathing in the tenuous gas, the universe would smell like a summer garden, like a sweet fermented nectar. It contrasts so beautifully with the cold, metallic nature of space. Here, in the deep dark, nature has cooked up the building blocks of sweetness. It is a comforting thought that the universe is not just made of rock and fire, but of the potential for sweetness, holding the recipes for life in its vast gaseous libraries. As we bask in that sensory richness, we open our eyes to the true colour of the universe. We often think of space as black, punctuated by white stars. But if you were to take all the light from every galaxy, every star, every gas cloud, and blend it together into a single paint bucket, what colour would the universe be? It would not be black. It would be a soft, creamy beige. Astronomers have named this colour cosmic latte. Imagine a cup of warm milk with a dash of coffee, a soothing pale almond colour. This is the average hue of existence. Visualize the entire cosmos as a warm, comforting blanket in this shade. It is not a harsh, cold darkness. It is a soft, cappuccino-coloured light that permeates the background of reality. It is the colour of old parchment, of sand on a quiet beach, of foam on a latte. This is the glow of the collective starlight of billions of years. Let this colour fill your mind's eye. It is the ultimate neutral, the colour of rest. The universe, in its sum total, is warm and light. It wraps around you like a heavy cream-coloured quilt, insulating you from the cold, reminding you that light is the dominant force, softening the edges of the night. We drift from the colour of the universe to the movement of a specific neighbour, the planet Venus. We often feel that the day is too short, that the sun moves too fast across the sky. But on Venus, the rhythm is entirely different. It is a world of extreme slowness. Venus spins backward compared to Earth, and it spins with agonizing lethargy. It takes 243 Earth days for Venus to spin once on its axis, but it takes only 225 days to orbit the Sun. This means that a day on Venus is longer than a year. Visualize standing on the surface of this cloudy world. The sun rises in the west, not the east, and it rises so slowly that you cannot see it move. It hangs in the sky for months. There is no rush here. The afternoon lasts for weeks. The twilight lingers for an eternity. If you were to walk continuously at a brisk pace, you could walk faster than the rotation of the planet. You could keep the sunset on the horizon forever. Feel the peace of that extended time. There is no ticking clock on Venus. The day stretches out into a limitless horizon of time. It is a place where the concept of being late does not exist. The slow, thick atmosphere and the backward rotation create a sense of paused time, a world trapped in amber, turning gently, defying the hurried pace of the rest of the solar system. In this stillness, where time slows down, we encounter a phenomenon of pure connection. We look at how metal behaves in the vacuum of space. On Earth, if you touch two pieces of metal together, they remain separate because of the air and oxidation layers between them. But in the vacuum, where there is no air to create that barrier, something magical happens. It is called cold welding. If you take two pieces of clean, polished metal in space and touch them together, they do not just touch, they become one. The atoms of one piece do not know where they end and the other begins. They flow across the gap, fusing the two objects together instantly, permanently, without any heat. Visualize this silent fusion. Two separate entities drifting in the dark, coming into contact and immediately becoming a single whole. It is a metaphor for perfect unity. There is no seam, no joint, no glue, just a seamless merging of atomic structures. It speaks to the natural desire of matter to be together, to return to oneness. In the cold silence of the void, separation is an illusion. When the barriers are removed, when the noise and the air are stripped away, everything seeks to connect, to lock together in an eternal embrace. But space is a land of contrasts. From the intimacy of cold welding, we travel to the ultimate isolation. We drift toward the constellation of Bhutas, to a spherical region of space known as the Bhutas Void. This is the great nothing. Imagine a sphere of space so large that it takes 300 million years to cross it at the speed of light. In a region this size, there should be 10,000 galaxies. But in the Bhutas Void, we have found only 60. It is an empty room in the mansion of the universe. If you were floating in the center of this void and you looked out, you would see nothing. No stars, no galaxies, just absolute perfect blackness for millions of miles in every direction. It is the quietest place in existence. It is a sensory deprivation tank on a cosmic scale. But do not feel fear in this emptiness. Feel the space. It is uncluttered. It is clean. It is a place where gravity has swept the floor, moving the galaxies to the edges, leaving a vast open cathedral of silence. It is a place for the mind to expand without hitting any walls. The Buddha's void is the pause between the notes, the deep breath between the sentences of the galaxy. It is a reservoir of peace, a bubble of nothingness that allows the universe to breathe. Float in that center, suspended in the velvet absolute, where there is nothing to do, nothing to see, only the profound weightlessness of being alone in the dark. And yet, even in the black holes that anchor the galaxies, there is a song. We travel now to the Perseus cluster, where a supermassive black hole sits in the center of a cloud of hot gas. We have discovered that this black hole is humming. It is sending out pressure waves, ripples in the hot gas that spread out like ripples in a pond. These are sound waves, but they are singing a note that is the deepest sound ever detected in the universe. It is a B-flat. But it is not a note you can hear. It is a B-flat that is 57 octaves below middle C. It is a sound so deep, so low, that its frequency is one oscillation every 10 million years. Visualize this vibration. It is a rhythmic massaging of the galaxy. The black hole sings, and the gas around it heats up, preventing it from cooling down and forming new stars. The song of the black hole keeps the galaxy in a state of suspended youth. Feel the depth of that vibration in your chest, a hum that lasts for aeons, a resonance that holds the cluster together. It is the baseline of the cosmos, a slow, steady thrum that underpins the reality of the Perseus cluster. It is a lullaby so slow that a single beat lasts longer than human history, rocking the stars in a cradle of gravity. While the black holes sing, the stars rain down particles upon us. We shift our focus to the neutrino. These are the ghost particles. They are born in the heart of the sun, and they travel outward at nearly the speed of light. They are passing through you right now, trillions of them, every second. They pass through the roof of your house, through your body, through the bed, through the entire earth, and out the other side without touching a single atom. To a neutrino, solid matter is smoke. The earth is transparent. Visualize this rain. It is a silent, invisible shower of energy. You are being bathed in the breath of the sun, but it is a touch so light it cannot be felt. It connects you to the solar core in the most intimate way, yet it leaves no trace. It is a reminder that we are not solid walls. We are open lattices, permeable and connected to the flow of the universe. The barriers we perceive, walls, floors, skin, are illusions to the neutrino. We are all porous, open vessels through which the energy of the stars flows freely, washing us clean, passing through us like wind through a screen door. Finally, we look up at a star named V838 Monocerotis, and we witness the phenomenon of the light echo. Years ago, this star suddenly flashed, growing incredibly bright for a moment. But what we see now is not the star expanding. We are watching that pulse of light travelling outward, illuminating the dust clouds around the star. Imagine shouting in a canyon and hearing the echo return to you. Now visualize a flash of light shouting into the dark. As the light travels away from the star, it hits the surrounding dust. First the close dust, then the dust further out. It illuminates the cloud in expanding rings. It looks like a red rose blooming in the dark, opening its petals wider and wider. But the dust isn't moving. The light is moving over the dust. We're watching the history of that flash unfold in slow motion. We're seeing a scan of the nebula. It is a ghostly, beautiful expansion, a ripple of illumination spreading through the attic of the sky. It reminds us that light carries memory. A single event can ripple outward for years, painting the darkness with the story of what happened, a silent, blooming flower of red light that grows and grows, gently revealing the hidden shapes of the night before fading back into the gentle sleep of the void. And just as that blooming rose of light fades into the deep memory of the galaxy, revealing the history of a single flash, we realize that perspective is everything. We turn our gaze now from the distant stars back toward the place where our journey began. We travel outward, to the very edge of our own solar neighborhood, to stand alongside the Voyager 1 probe. It is Valentine's Day 1990. The probe has finished its grand tour of the gas giants and is drifting into the dark, nearly 4 billion miles from home. But before it sleeps, it receives one final command. It turns its camera around. It looks back toward the center of the system, toward the warmth. Visualize the image it captures. It is a photograph of bands of scattered sunlight, beams of pale light stretching across a grainy dark background. And there, caught in one of those suspended sunbeams, is a speck, a tiny pixelated dot of pale blue. This is the pale blue dot. It is the most humbling image ever taken. That single pixel is the Earth. Look at it closely in your mind's eye. It is smaller than a grain of salt held at arm's length. It is a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Everything you have ever known, every person you have ever loved, every sunrise, every ocean, every quiet moment of sleep, it is all contained within that microscopic fleck of light. From this distance, the Earth does not look grand or imposing. It looks fragile. It looks precious. It is wrapped in the vast, enveloping dark, isolated and protected. To see our home from this vantage point is to realize that the noise of the world is insignificant. The boundaries are invisible. There is only the dot glowing softly in the ray of the sun, floating in the great enveloping silence. Let that image settle in your chest, the feeling of being small but safe. You're riding on that speck of dust, drifting through the cosmos held by the light. We turn away from the dot now, but we remain in the outer realms, drifting toward the blue giant Neptune. Here, we encounter a moon that refuses to follow the rules. This is Triton. While all the other major moons in the solar system orbit their planets in the same direction that the planet spins, Triton moves in reverse. It is a retrograde traveller, a rebel walking backward through the sky. Visualize this large, lonely world. It is not made of rock like our moon. It is a world of frozen nitrogen and water ice, with a surface that looks like the skin of a cantaloupe, wrinkled, pitted, and strange. Because it orbits backward, we know it was not born here. It was a wanderer, a dwarf planet from the deep Kuiper belt that strayed too close and was captured by Neptune's gravity. It is a visitor that decided to stay, float down toward its surface. It is incredibly cold, so cold that the nitrogen air freezes onto the ground as pinkish frost. But the surface is alive. Look at the horizon. Geysers are erupting, but they do not spew hot water. They spew dust and nitrogen gas, shooting 5 miles into the thin atmosphere. Because of the winds high above, the tops of these plumes are sheared off, creating long, dark streaks that stretch across the ice for miles. It looks like black smoke signals against the pink snow. It is a silent, frozen landscape of active beauty, a captured king circling its blue master in a slow, backward waltz. From the orderly backward march of Triton, we drift inward to the chaotic realm of Saturn to find a moon that looks like it belongs in a coral reef. This is Hyperion. Most moons are spheres, polished smooth by gravity. But Hyperion is different. It is shaped like a potato or a sponge. Visualize a world that is pockmarked with deep, dark craters, but the edges are sharp, not smooth. It looks porous. If you were to land on Hyperion, you would feel incredibly light. The moon is so fluffy, so full of holes, that its density is barely more than water. It is a floating island of pumice and ice. But the strangest sensation here is the movement. Hyperion does not spin peacefully. It tumbles. Because of the tug of war between Saturn and the massive moon Titan, Hyperion is in a state of chaotic rotation. It wobbles. The sun might rise in the east one day, and then the north the next. It might stay overhead for an hour or vanish for a week. There is no schedule here. It is a world of complete unpredictability. Imagine lying on the surface of this sponge moon, watching the stars wheel overhead in dizzying random arcs. It is a place of wild, tumbling freedom, a rock that refuses to settle down, rolling forever through the ring's shadows. Nearby, circling the same ringed giant, is another moon that holds a stark duality. This is Iapetus. It is the celestial symbol of yin and yang. As you approach this world, you see that it is split perfectly in two. The leading hemisphere, the side that faces forward as it orbits, is black as charcoal. It is covered in a thick layer of dark, reddish dust swept up from space. But the trailing hemisphere, the back of the moon, is white as fresh snow. Visualize this contrast. A world that is half shadow, half light. The divide is not gradual. It is sharp and striking, and running exactly along the equator, separating the dark from the light, is a massive ridge of mountains. It is 12 miles high, giving the moon the appearance of a giant walnut. Imagine standing on that ridge. Behind you is the blinding white ice fields, reflecting the golden light of Saturn. In front of you is the velvet darkness of the soot-covered plains. You're walking the line between night and day, between winter and the deep dark. It is a world of perfect balance, holding two opposing natures in one body, spinning silently in the gloom. The stillness here is profound, emphasized by the stark geometry of the landscape, a monochrome masterpiece hanging in the void. We leave the moons of Saturn and drift inward, toward the king of planets, Jupiter. But we do not go to the planet itself. We go to the quiet harbours ahead of it and behind it. We enter the camps of the Trojan asteroids. Gravity creates safe zones, as we learned. But here, those zones are crowded. There are thousands of asteroids trapped in the Lagrange points of Jupiter. They are the hitchhikers. Visualize a swarm of rocks, dark and ancient, that have been stuck in these gravitational eddies for billions of years. They are not crashing into each other. They're floating in a loose formation like a fleet of ships at anchor. One group marches ahead of Jupiter, the Greeks. The other group trails behind, the Trojans. They are the fossils of the early solar system trapped in amber. Because they are locked in orbit with Jupiter, they are safe. They do not drift away. They do not fall into the sun. They are held in the invisible hands of the giant planet. Imagine floating in the center of this swarm. You're surrounded by the silent history of the solar system, rocks that have witnessed the birth of the planets, now resting in the calmest waters of gravity. It is a celestial parking lot, a place where the weary travellers of the void have found a permanent home, marching in step with the king. From the stationary travellers, we turn our eyes to a true sprinter. We look beyond the solar system to a faint red star in the constellation of Ophiuchus. This is Barnard's star. To the naked eye, the stars seem fixed. The constellations our ancestors saw are the same ones we see. But Barnard's star is different. It is the runner. It moves across our sky faster than any other star. Visualize a time-lapse video of the night sky over a human lifetime. Most stars sit still, but this little red dot is creeping noticeably against the background. It is travelling at 300,000 miles per hour relative to the sun. It is a traveller passing through our neighbourhood. Imagine the energy of that movement. A star, a massive ball of plasma, rushing through the silence. It is a reminder that the galaxy is not a static painting. It is a swirling dance floor. Barnard's star is just passing through, waving hello as it sprints across our field of view. It gives the night sky a sense of dynamism. We're not frozen. We're traffic. We're all moving, sliding past one another in the dark, heading toward our own private destinations. And as we watch the traffic of stars, we listen. We return to the great radio ears of Earth, listening for a voice in the crowd. We remember a specific moment in 1977, the WOW signal. Picture a radio telescope scanning the stars, the pen on the chart recorder tracing a flat line of static. Scritch, scritch. The sound of the universe's background noise, and then, suddenly, the pen jumps. For 72 seconds, a signal washes over the Earth. It is loud. It is distinct. It rises in intensity and then falls, exactly as it would if a focused beam swept past our planet. It came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, from a patch of empty space. Visualize that wave of radio energy arriving after travelling for centuries. It touched the telescope, wrote its signature, and then vanished. We listened again. We listened for years. But the silence returned. It never repeated. Was it a greeting? A lighthouse beam sweeping past? A glitch in the matrix? We do not know, but there is something beautiful in the mystery. It is a single note played on a piano in an empty room, a hello that echoes forever. It reminds us that we are waiting, and the universe is capable of surprising us. The signal is a ghost story of astronomy, a whisper that proves we are listening, always listening, to the deep breath of the dark. We bring our focus back from the distant signals to the ground beneath our feet, to the very rotation of the Earth. We feel the day passing. We think of the day as 24 hours, fixed and eternal. But the Earth is tired. It is slowing down. Visualize the Earth spinning in space. It is a heavy blue marble. But the moon, our silver companion, is pulling on our oceans. The tides drag across the seafloor, creating friction. This friction acts like a brake. Very slowly, imperceptibly, the Earth's rotation is decelerating. When the dinosaurs walked the Earth, the day was only 23 hours long. The sun rose and set faster. In the distant future, the day will be 25 hours. Feel the relaxation in that thought. The planet is taking its time. It is unhurried. The rush of existence is slowing down. The days are stretching out, offering us more time, more light, more sleep. It is a gradual, gentle easing of the pace. We are spinning into a more leisurely future. Let your own internal clock match this slowing rhythm. There is no need to rush. The world itself is applying the brakes, settling into a longer, deeper rest. And as the Earth slows, the partner that causes this braking is drifting away. We look up at the moon again. It looks steady, but it is leaving us. This is the lunar recession. Every year the moon moves about 1.5 inches further away from Earth. It is the width of 2 fingers. It is stealing energy from Earth's spin to push itself into a higher orbit. Visualize this long, slow goodbye. It is not a violent separation, but a gentle drifting apart, like a boat untying its rope and letting the current take it slowly from the dock. Millions of years ago, the moon was huge in the sky, a terrifying giant. In the future, it will be smaller, too small to ever cover the sun completely. There will come a day when the total solar eclipse is impossible, but for now, it is still here, watching over us. The recession is a reminder of the impermanence of all things, but also of the long, slow scales of nature. Relationships change, distances grow, but the gravity remains. The moon is walking away, backward, facing us as it goes, a loyal guardian expanding its patrol route, giving us more space, more sky, more room to dream. Finally, we realize that when we look at the moon, or the stars, or the distant galaxies, we're not seeing them as they are now. We're seeing them as they were. We drift into the concept of light as time. Light takes time to travel. It takes 1 second to get from the moon to your eye. It takes 8 minutes from the sun. It takes 4 years from the nearest star. It takes 2 million years from the Andromeda Galaxy. This means the night sky is not a ceiling. It is a time machine. When you look up, you are looking into the past. You're seeing ghosts. The star you make a wish upon might have burned out a century ago, but its last message of light is just arriving now to kiss your retina. Visualize the sky as a history book. The deeper you look, the further back in time you travel. You're seeing the universe as it was when the pyramids were built, when the dinosaurs died, when the Earth formed. You're never seeing the now. You're always living in the echo of the past. There is a profound comfort in this delay. The reality of the universe is buffered. We are protected by distance. The light is a messenger that runs across the void to bring us the news of what happened eons ago. As you lie there, looking at the ceiling of your room, you're in the present. But close your eyes, and you can drift back through the light years, floating upstream against the river of time, back to the quiet, glowing beginning of it all. The past is still there, shining down on you, wrapping you in the warm, ancient blanket of starlight. And as we float in that ancient river of light, looking back at the ghosts of the past, we begin to feel the strange elasticity of the medium through which we travel. We have spoken of light, but now we must speak of the fabric it travels through, space-time, and specifically, how that fabric stretches. We drift into the sensation of time dilation. Imagine that you are an astronaut floating near a massive object, something with gravity so deep it pulls at the seconds themselves. A black hole, perhaps, or a neutron star. As you drift closer to this heavy silence, time for you remains normal. Your heart beats at its steady rhythm. Thump, thump. You take a breath, and it feels like any other breath. But if you were to look back at the Earth, far away and safe, you would see something impossible. You would see the world spinning wildly. You would see cities rise and fall in the blink of an eye. You would see friends grow old and fade like flowers in a time-lapse video, while you have barely aged a minute. This is the relativity of time. Gravity is not just a force that pulls your feet to the ground, it is a force that slows the ticking of the cosmic clock. Visualize yourself wrapped in this slow-motion bubble. It is a protective cocoon where the universe rushes by, but you are held in a long suspended moment. It is the ultimate pause button. To float near the heavy giants of the galaxy is to step out of the rushing stream of history and sit on the bank, watching the water roar past. There is a profound peace in this separation, a realization that time is not a rigid ruler, but a flowing river that pools and eddies, allowing us to linger in the quiet depths while the surface rushes on. Leaving the heavy gravity that warps the clock, we drift toward a vision of pure, ethereal beauty. We move to a cluster of stars that has guided sailors and dreamers for millennia, the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters. Visualize looking up at the winter sky and seeing that tight knot of blue-white diamonds. But we are drifting closer, entering the cluster itself. As we approach, we realize these stars are not sitting in empty space. They are wrapped in a delicate, glowing gauze. This is a reflection nebula. The sisters are passing through a drifting cloud of interstellar dust, and their brilliant blue light is scattering off the particles like headlights in a fog. Imagine floating through this mist. It is a whisper-thin veil of azure and electric blue swirling gently around the stars. It looks like wisps of cirrus clouds illuminated by a full moon, but on a scale of light years. The light here is cool and crisp. It feels like winter air, sharp and clarifying. These stars are young, vibrant and full of energy, huddled together for warmth in the dark. To be among them is to be inside a sapphire surrounded by a soft, scattered glow that banishes the shadows. It is a place of family and light, where the dust of the cosmos is turned into a shimmering gown of blue silk, wrapping the sisters in a celestial embrace. Not far from the sisters, in the same patch of sky, we find their older, wiser siblings. We drift toward the Hyades. This is the V-shaped cluster that forms the face of the bull Taurus. While the Pleiades are tight and bright, the Hyades are spread out, relaxed, and golden. These stars are older. They have drifted further apart, wandering through the galaxy together like a loose group of travellers. Visualize the V shape in the darkness. a spearhead of light pointing the way. There is a sense of maturity here. The frantic energy of youth has settled into a steady yellow-orange burn. These stars are moving away from us, receding into the deep distance, destined to travel toward the red giant Betelgeuse. Imagine drifting along with them. You're part of a silent migration, a flock of hundreds of stars flying in formation through the galactic disk. The space between them is vast, yet they're bound by a common origin, a common gravity. It feels like a long, slow walk home with old friends, where no words are needed, just the comfort of presence in the vast night. From the steady light of the living stars, we turn our gaze to the artistic remnants of the dead. We drift toward the constellation of Cygnus to find the Veil Nebula. Thousands of years ago, a star detonated. It ended its life in a flash of glory. But what it left behind is not a chaotic mess. It is a masterpiece of delicate lace. Visualize a loop of gas stretching across the sky, so fine and intricate that it looks like a translucent curtain blowing in a gentle breeze. The colours here are soft and pastel. Threads of ionized oxygen glow in teal and green, while hydrogen paints thin, red filaments that twist and braid together. It looks like a ribbon of smoke that has been frozen in time. Imagine tracing one of these filaments with your finger. It is a twisted rope of light, millions of miles long, hanging suspended in the vacuum. It is a filamentary nebula, meaning it is made of threads rather than clumps. It looks like the shattered remains of a stained glass window, or a piece of silk dropped into a dark pool. There is a fragility to the Veil Nebula that defies the violence of its creation. It is a reminder that even from destruction, the universe weaves beauty. It takes the ashes of a star and spins them into a tapestry of light, draping it across the stars as a memorial to what once was. We float from the lace of the veil to a shape that stares back at us. We enter the constellation of Aquarius to find the Helix Nebula. Often called the Eye of God, this is a planetary nebula, the final breath of a sun-like star. Visualize a giant, unblinking eye in the dark. The pupil is the dying white dwarf star in the centre, hot and blue. The iris is a ring of glowing gas, shifting from blue in the centre to a deep, rich red at the outer edges. But this is not a flat ring. It is a trillion-mile-long tunnel of gas pointed directly at Earth. We are looking down the throat of the structure. Imagine floating into this tunnel. The walls are made of comet-like knots of gas, each one larger than our solar system, streaming away from the dying star like tears in the wind. The colours are vibrant, aqua, marine and crimson. It is a spectacle of symmetry. The star is shedding its outer layers gently, puffing them out into space to create this glowing geode. To float in the centre of the helix is to be watched by the universe itself. It is a feeling of being seen, of being known. The great eye remains open, watching the eons pass, a silent sentinel composed of the very dust that will one day form new worlds. From the glowing eye, we drift to a silhouette. We travel to the belt of Orion, to a place where the light is blocked by a dark, dense cloud. We find the Horsehead Nebula. Most nebulae are defined by their light, but this one is defined by its darkness. Visualize a curtain of bright pink hydrogen gas, glowing like a neon sign, and rising up in front of it is a swirl of dark, cold dust. The shape is unmistakable. It looks like the head and neck of a horse, or a knight on a chessboard, rising from a cloudy sea. This is a dark nebula. The dust is so thick it blocks the light behind it. Imagine drifting close to this dark tower. It is a pillar of creation, a nursery where new stars are forming inside the cool dark. The edges of the horse's mane are glowing, backlit by the fires of the stars beyond. There is a mystery in this shadow. It stands stark and solid against the ethereal light. It reminds us of the power of the silhouette, the beauty of the things we cannot see. It is a statue carved from the night itself, standing guard in the chaotic nursery of Orion. It feels stoic, silent, and permanent, a dark anchor in a sea of pink light. But there are shadows deeper than the Horsehead. We travel south now to the Southern Cross to find the Coalsack Nebula. To the indigenous astronomers of the Southern Hemisphere, the dark patches in the Milky Way were as important as the stars. They saw a giant emu stretched across the sky, and the Coalsack is the head of that great bird. Visualize looking up at the rich white river of the Milky Way, dense with billions of stars, and right in the middle there is a hole, a patch of absolute blackness. It looks like a window has been opened into the void beyond the galaxy. But it is not a hole. It is a cloud of cold dust, 600 light-years away, blocking the starlight. It is a silhouette against the Diamond River. Imagine floating into the Coalsack. The stars disappear. The light of the galaxy is extinguished. You're in a cave in the sky. It is a place of profound sensory rest. The visual noise of the billion stars is muted, blocked by the velvet curtain of dust. It is a place to close your eyes and feel the coolness of the shadow, a quiet alcove in the busy street of the galaxy. From the deepest dark, we emerge suddenly into a treasure chest of colour. Right next to the Coalsack sits the Jewel Box cluster. When the astronomer John Herschel first saw this through his telescope, he described it as a casket of variously coloured precious stones. Visualize a small, tight gathering of stars. Most are bright blue-white, like diamonds and sapphires, but nestled in the centre is a single, brilliant red supergiant, a ruby among the ice. The contrast is startling. It looks artificial, like a collection of gems spilled onto black velvet. Traffic light colours, blue, yellow, orange, twinkling in a tight formation. Imagine the view from a planet inside this cluster. The sky would be a kaleidoscope. You would have multiple suns of different colours casting multicoloured shadows on the ground. A blue sunrise, a red noon, a purple twilight. It is a playful corner of the universe, a jewellery box left open for us to admire. It reminds us that the stars are not just white, they're a spectrum, a painting of temperature and age, sparkling with a festive brilliance. We zoom in now on a single point of light that creates its own colour contrast. We travel to the head of the Swan, to the star Albireo. To the naked eye, it looks like a single star, but through the lens of a telescope it splits into two, and they are the most beautiful pair in the heavens. One star is a rich, golden topaz. The other is a striking electric sapphire, gold and blue. They sit next to each other in the dark, shining steady and true. They are not a binary system in the sense that they orbit quickly. They are far apart, drifting together in a slow, stately procession. Visualize these two jewels hanging in the void. The colours are so distinct, so complementary. The warm, inviting glow of the gold star and the cool, piercing light of the blue one. It is a celestial marriage of opposites. Fire and ice, summer and winter. They balance each other perfectly. To watch them is to find a sense of equilibrium. It is a reminder that beauty often comes from contrast, from the pairing of things that are different but belong together in the same field of view. Finally, we drift toward a star that dominates the darkness with a singular, deep hue. We travel to the constellation of Cepheus to find Mu Cephei, known as Herschel's Garnet Star. This is a hypergiant. It is one of the largest stars known. If you placed it in our solar system, it would swallow everything up to the orbit of Saturn. But it is not its size that lulls us. It is its colour. It is a deep blood red, or perhaps the colour of a dying ember, or a dark garnet stone held up to a candle. It is not the bright orange of Betelgeuse. It is deeper, richer, dimmer. Visualize this titanic sphere of red light. It is a dying star, cool and unstable, pulsating slowly in the dark. The light it casts is sombre and warm. It feels like the light of a fire that has burned down to the coals, radiating a gentle, sleepy heat. Imagine basking in the glow of the garnet star. The light is soft on your eyes, not blinding. It is a night light for the galaxy. It speaks of age, of a long life lived, of a slow and majestic decline. It is a giant resting in the shadows, glowing with a deep inner warmth that signals the end of the journey is near, and that it is time to rest, time to cool down, time to sleep. From that deep, glowing ember of the garnet star, pulsing with the weary, gentle heat of a life well lived, we arrive at the final truth, the ultimate destination of our journey. We have travelled to the edge of the visible universe, to the freezing voids and the burning cores, to the diamond planets and the singing black holes. But the most profound wonder of space exploration is not found in the telescope. It is found in the mirror. Drift into the realization that you are not separate from the things we have seen. You are not a visitor looking at a gallery of stars. You are the stars. Every atom in your body, the calcium in your teeth, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your genes, was forged inside the crushing hearts of those giant stars billions of years ago. When they exploded, they threw their debris into the dark, and that debris gathered and swirled and cooled until it formed the Earth, and eventually it formed you. You are a collection of cosmic dust that has come together to wake up. You are the universe becoming conscious of itself. When you look up at the night sky, it is not a human looking at the universe. It is the universe looking at itself. It is an eye examining its own body. Feel the weight of this truth settle into your bones. You belong here. You're not a tiny speck in a vast alien ocean. You're a wave in that ocean. You're continuous with the fabric of space-time. The silence of the void is your silence. The light of the sun is your energy. There is no out there. There is only the great single flowing here. Exploration is not a journey away from home. It is a journey of self-discovery, a remembering of where we came from. We are the way the cosmos knows its own beauty. We are the story the universe tells itself to pass the time. And in this realization, there is a perfect, unshakable peace. You are made of stardust, and to stardust you shall return, held forever in the safety of the cosmic cycle. And so, our long voyage comes to a close. The engines of our imagination power down, hum, and go silent. The great silver ship of your mind, which has sailed past the rings of Saturn and through the mists of the Orion Nebula, now drifts gently back toward the harbour. Feel the gravity of the Earth returning to you, not as a weight, but as a hug, a warm, heavy embrace that pulls you down into the softness of your bed. The visuals of the galaxies are fading now, dissolving into a soft, comforting grey. The bright lights of the stars are dimming, one by one, like candles being blown out in a vast cathedral, leaving only the scent of peace in the air. Your breathing is slow. It is the rhythm of the tides, in and out, deep, steady, ancient. The universe is vast and it is old, and it is holding you. There is nothing left to explore tonight. There is nothing left to see. The data has been gathered. The wonders have been witnessed. And now the observer must rest. Let your heavy eyelids seal the airlock. Let the darkness of the room merge with the darkness of the void, creating a sanctuary of infinite quiet. You are safe. You are drifting in the centre of the great dark, suspended, protected, loved by the gravity that anchors you. The journey is over. The stillness is here. Drift, float, sink. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.